You're listening to episode 334 of the Major Issues Podcast, and on this episode, we pay respect to the late, great Roger Corman by reviewing the 1994 unreleased Fantastic Four film. The Major Issues Podcast starts right now! Hello, everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, you can only be here for one reason, and that's got to be a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you each and every week by ComicBookClique.com. And as always, I am never alone. Sir, if you could please introduce yourself.
I am Alex Garcia, aka The Cog. Happy to be here as always. What's going on, Don?
The Cog is here. We lost a goat, not too long ago. Roger Corman passed away. A legend when it comes to independent filmmaking, when it comes to even how people like to say underhandedly the B film. But instantly when I thought about Roger Corman, I thought about the Fantastic Four and this forgotten Fantastic Four film that was supposed to be released in 1994 that he co-executively produced. And that film actually is coming upon its 20th year anniversary, which is not even the 30 year anniversary. I'm trying to get my math right here. Yeah.
I was going to say like 20. Like that doesn't sound right.
30 year anniversary since this film didn't come out. I don't understand what would be, what's the...
Since the bootleg hit the conventions.
right. And this is a film that has its positive moments, it has its flaws, it has one of the most infamous production scandals when it comes to comic book movies. But I thought it'd be cool to sit here and chop it up about this. But before we get fully into the recap and review of this Fantastic Four film, which is, I don't think we can get in trouble for saying widely available on YouTube. Can we?
I'm pretty sure not. And if for some reason you don't have YouTube, you can buy it on Amazon or go to the next comic book convention and hit up somebody, and you'll be able to get it on DVD or even some kind of Blu-ray version that's probably out now.
No, yeah, 100%. This was something that I thought I would have to, when I initially was studying all this kind of stuff, I thought I would have to look long and hard and meet some guy in the alley in a trench coat and, answer 3 riddles to find it. But yeah, it's widely available on YouTube. But before we get into it, do you remember any of the scuttlebutt that was being talked about surrounding this film when you were reading comics, when you were watching some of this content? Do you remember this being the topic of discussion, a new Fantastic Four film that was going to be coming out?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This was in the midst of me, like my early days of collecting comic books and those days of getting, I forget what it was like a little newspaper magazine that would come out in comic shops along with, of course, Wizard, the Guide to Comics. And there was all these little rumblings about this movie that was supposed to be coming out, and these little production photos were coming out, or this poster was coming out. So people were talking about this movie coming out, and then it did a Kaiser Soze. It just disappeared. It was crazy. It was like, wait, what happened? And it's crazy to think, because at the time, everything was happening so fast. I'm a teenage mentality. It's crazy to think that I'm watching this now and go, wow, this was right after the Captain America movie,
right?
The Punisher movie that we covered.
Yeah.
And this is also happening in the midst of movies like Jurassic Park coming out. And this is only a couple years before Blade, the first Blade movie.
Yeah.
So it's kind of wild, because when you watch this, or the way my mind remembers is something, I'm like, man, this must have been like the late 80s when nobody was really talking about comic book movies like that. Like, no, this was smack in the middle of what was supposed to be the resurgence of Marvel. Right. Because they were like right in the midst of their bankruptcy, or right coming out of the bankruptcy. And this is what, in doing all this research now, that kind of secretly help sell Marvel and get them out of their situation.
Yeah.
This movie has a pretty interesting history, and it's quite controversial, and there's even like some conspiracy aspects to it.
Yeah.
It's really really cool. It's really really cool the stuff that comes out of this movie.
It's quite strange also because you were just saying like there's parts of this film that if you would have told me this came out, this was optioned 5 years after the first issue of Fantastic Four, right? I'd be like, oh wow,
Mhm.
they actually kind of nailed a little bit of the aesthetic, and like if this was a made for TV film, like it is what it is. But this is after the two Terminators. This is a year before the computer graphics interface juggernaut of Toy Story, right? Which will change the
Right.
game forever.
Hmm.
Um, the stuff that we were talking about before, and even stuff that will come in the future, stuff like Blade and stuff, um, they didn't need huge prosthetics, right? They didn't need huge computer graphics. I mean, some of the majority of the Blade stuff is the action stuff. Same thing with the Punisher. When you're covering this specific team, you kind of need to be on point when it comes to displaying these powers. But I 100% understand why they chose this property, this franchise. I just it boggles my mind that in 30 years, if you want to consider this the first misstep that we haven't been able to nail this family in live action, it's kind of bonkers to me. Without giving a spoiler, um, where do you think this ranks as far as adaptations of this family?
It's messed up to try to rank it because you and I and no one has ever seen what this movie is supposed to actually look like and be,
Right?
because this movie never officially came out. So even as I'm watching it, I could see there was a passion in it, and there were good story beats, and I love for the most part that aesthetically the people behind it were like, they looked at the comic book and said, this looks great, let's just do this,
Yeah,
instead of how many other production studios have seen comic book properties and been like, oh, this is great except for that. This, for the most part, really embraces most of it, and even the stuff that it doesn't embrace was because of budget reasons. Not because they didn't think it was good, just because they were like, wait, we want to do that, but we can't afford that.
yeah,
So they were totally sold on the source material, which I love. So given that, I give them props and commend them for that. But you can see where it falls apart, and
right.
it's kind of sad because, like I said, the people behind this cared about this property. So for me, I would honestly, given all of that and seeing what was made, I would. This is definitely better than Fan Four Stick, a movie I have.
Right.
I still can't sit through.
You never
The
finished it?
only never. I can't. I start Fan Four Stick and it's just I'm done. It's so boring.
It's
I
very
don't care
dull.
about the characters. Nothing about that movie strikes a chord with me. I don't feel like I'm watching a Fantastic Four movie. Um, it should be called. It should be called Event Horizon 3 or something. It's horrible, and it's it's honestly it's better than Rise of the Silver Surfer, and it's probably right underneath the first Fantastic Four movie for me because it's not unwatchable. It's not. And but meanwhile, what are we watching? Copies of VHS copies that are streaming on YouTube.
Yeah.
I, and this is a 30-year-old property that was done on a $1 million budget. Come on.
That $1 million number is absolutely bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah. And you can tell most of that $1 million went into that costume.
I like their thing. I like their thing.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
just I guess is that am I that sounded a bit
We have to edit that. We have to bleep that. I like the boop.
yeah, it sounded a little bit ridiculous. Give me yeah, so given everything that all the stuff that they had on their plate in trying to get this done on the cheap and quickly, it is commendable how far they were able to get with this film. And again, even the finished version that we've seen, like I don't think it's as bad as Origins, which was a movie that was actually released into theaters. Um, the same stuff that you were saying about Fan Stick, I agree with that as well. So yeah, I definitely put this above Fan Stick. Um, I like the actors in it. I didn't recognize them, any of them, from anything before, but I totally dig what they did on this.
I did. I mean, I can't remember this. I mean, none of them have household names. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? But Jay Underwood, there we go. Jay Underwood, he's done a lot. He did a couple projects before this, like he was in Uncle Buck, I believe,
Okay.
and he's popped up in tons of shows here and there. And then it wasn't until I watched it this time that I recognized Rebecca Staub. Have you ever seen a movie called Love Potion Number Nine
Yeah.
with Sandra Bullock? It was like one of Sandra Bullock's first movies.
Yeah.
It was way before Speed. She's in it.
Oh,
She's in it.
okay.
And she plays like a girl that the male lead in that movie tests the love potion on. And I remember that scene, and that movie came out like in 91, probably. And my teenage self had a huge crush on her because of that scene from that movie. I always remember whenever Love Potion Number Nine was playing on like WPIX, being like, "Oh, I can't wait to the scene where she's in it," and then seeing her be Invisible Woman, because she's a beautiful woman,
Very
and
beautiful. Very
and
beautiful.
she still looks great because in the documentary they did about this called Doomed, she's in it, and she's probably like in her 50s now. And I'm the whole time I'm looking at the documentary, like she still looks great. So yeah, and a lot of these guys went on to have pretty good careers, all things considered. So from this, a lot of them had good careers, and a lot of them, not a lot of them, I think pretty much everybody still would love to see this get its official release in some way, shape, or form, because I think it deserves it. I think it deserves it.
Do you think that's possible?
Is it possible? I believe it is possible in that, like, I think people, if they knew wherever this original film is or was placed last, that I believe that somebody would take it and try to tinker it, or even pass it on to somebody to tinker with it and give it its just sound editing and sound adjustments and even CGI adjustments, and put it out on some kind of direct to video DVD or Blu-ray release, or just stream it on something. But from everything that I researched and looked into, it seems like the original copy of this is just gone,
Yeah,
which is sad.
they were claiming that it might have been burned, right? Like there were some people that saying Avi Arad himself might have burned some stuff, which was, I thought was
He
pretty.
that's what he said he did. I believe that's what his quote is saying, is that I bought the movie and I got every copy I could and I burnt it, which to me is just disrespect, because like you don't do that to somebody else's art,
Yeah,
especially from one artist to another. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you expect some punks or something to do that, but you can never imagine, like, just imagine if that's what say Paul McCartney had done at the time that he had owned Michael Jackson's music, or if the reverse. I'm sorry, I had
yeah,
Michael
because he
Jackson done
felt
to the
like
Beatles music.
it.
Oh, I own your stuff, so I'm just gonna destroy it all. Like, no, you're an artist, man. You preserve that. You preserve art. You know what I mean? So even in times of war, a lot of times people preserve the art.
Yeah,
So I mean, even if you just had put this on a shelf somewhere, so that, okay, I'm gonna keep it here for 50 years, and when I'm dead, somebody else can do what they want with it. But to take it and destroy it, wow, that's balls.
in an era now, like you were just talking about, right, where people they could you imagine if they gave Ole Sasson, the director here, the amount of money they gave Zack Snyder to finish to finish this film?
Justice League.
Yeah. Um, you know, uh, in a world where campaigns and the Twitter mob are able to get a lot of things accomplished, you would think this would be trying to see the light of day. But yeah, I've heard the same rumors that you have, that this is something that might be in either locked in a vault, or just does not exist anymore. The atoms, they use the stones to destroy the stones, like an end game.
Yeah, right. Just gone.
Gone. Um,
Terrible. It's sad.
But let's get through the homework. The Fantastic Four is an unreleased 1994 superhero film based on the Marvel Comics superhero team of the same name, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. The film features the team's origin and first battle with Doctor Doom. Executive produced by low-budget specialist Roger Corman and uh, it's not Bernard, it's Bernd and Scheiker. They said it in the film, but I can't.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. Said perfectly.
It was allowed to ensure that Scheiger keep the Fantastic Four film rights. It was not released officially, although pirated copies have circulated since May 31st, 1994. So that's kind of sort of the release date. May 31st, 1994, which would make it about 30 years old around the time of this recording. Which is quite interesting. Let me,
because I think it was supposed to come out like late 93 and it never happened, obviously.
oh,
It
yeah,
was supposed to come out.
they did it. Like when I was watching the documentary on it, and we have an entire episode covering the Doomed documentary, which is also on YouTube. If you guys want to find it, it's available, I believe, on streaming services as well. That's how I initially found it. But yeah, it talks about how quickly the production they went through, like a 2-week turnaround from audition to being on set. Like that's bonkers, and just ready to start, ready to start going. You know. But yeah, we'll go through a full recap of this film and then, stopping at obvious points. And if we have bits of, stuff from the documentary that we learned or things that we noticed on the screen, I'd love to talk about it because I think this film definitely warrants a conversation. But full spoiler alerts, if you haven't watched this film, we are going to get into all of the nitty gritty. So, our film starts off with Reed Richards, Victor Von Doom, and Ben Grimm in college. Their professor mentions a passing comet called Colossus, and Reed and Victor seem interested in experimenting with it, although they argue as to how. We catch up with the Storm siblings, a very young Johnny and Sue, at Mrs. Storm's boarding house. Turns out Reed is staying there, and Sue thinks he's cute. Everyone is gearing up for the big passing comet. And at their lab, Victor and Reed work on a machine that will harness the energy of the comet as it passes. Reed is quite hesitant and requests that Victor look over his notes, but Victor says there's no time. As you would expect, the machine begins to go haywire and cannot handle the huge amount of energy surging into it, so it explodes and seemingly kills Von Doom in the process. This is confirmed when a doctor apologizes to Reed, saying that his burns were too severe, although all of this looks shady as hell. So... that's the opening.
All of it. Like the entire first 10 minutes of this movie, there's a lot of shady stuff going on.
There is a lot of shady stuff going on. So we immediately are introduced to Alex Hyde White as Reed Richards, not yet. Michael Bailey Smith as Ben Grimm, and Joseph Culp as Victor Von Doom. What do you think about those three gentlemen?
Honestly, I love the way what's his name? Alex Hyde White looked as Reed Richards.
Yeah,
I thought he looked great. I even liked the guy who played Ben Grimm. He looked good. Yeah. And then the Victor Von Doom looked all right. His accent,
a little much. But the professor. Did you catch who the professor was? No, who's the professor?
Did you ever watch the Police Academy movies?
Yeah, but this was years ago.
The Commandant Lassard, the imbecile leader of the police troop.
Oh,
that's him.
Yeah. Oh,
that's him. And I thought it was hilarious to see this guy who normally in my childhood played just this absolute dummy of a police chief is now.
I was about to say, is that a good sign or a bad sign when you start the movie?
Yeah, right. that right there tells you why the experiment fell apart. Like you're getting astrophysics lessons from a guy who doesn't understand how to run a police department. Like, come on, it was right there, Reed. It was right there. But it was fun seeing that interaction because immediately, of course, they want to establish Reed as his genius. Alex Hyde White is for the most part selling it. Even though it's kind of funny because you could tell this dude is just literally scratching on paper. Yes. Like what is he writing there that's supposed to make me believe he's such a genius?
Right.
The idea of what he's doing, sure, okay, I get that, but nothing in what he's writing it doesn't feel like any effort was being put in to be like, oh man, can you write like x squared, or can you make the
Yeah, an
uh
equation, something.
an equation? It just looks like he's literally just scratching. So I get it, but it was just comical to watch. And then the other thing is, why is Ben Grimm in this class?
Well,
If we
I
know
know,
who,
I know. Higher learning eventually became something very popular in the '90s. Half of everyone in here looks about 40, 50 years old. In the first place, I'm looking through. I'm like, wait a minute. There's a bunch of
well,
old ass college students.
I didn't like. I had to think about this. I had to think about it. Like, okay, I can understand why Reed is in this class and why he might be a little older. This is
Yeah.
like an advanced. That's why I was thinking that it didn't bother me like their ages, so to speak.
Mm,
Just until I saw Ben Grimm sitting next to him, like, why is the big dumb jock in this class with Reed?
right.
It was just funny to me. You could just tell it's just like, man, we don't have time and the money, because again, the budget on this movie to film another scene where he runs into his buddy and then they go to the next place. There's just like, we got to just put him in the same place, because Ben Grimm, if you read any of the comics, you know they have no reason to be in the same classroom together. None.
Right. I was just gonna say later on they do a time jump. Do we get like a blank amount of years later?
I think you're just supposed to know.
You're supposed to
I
just
think
know, right?
and not just that, but you get the gray in Reed's hair right there.
Right,
You get
right.
that, I don't know if that was a budgetary constraint, or if that was a way to lessen this happening.
Oh,
Because that's like you said, when he sees little Sue, and then I'm sitting there going, no,
yeah,
they're
yeah. I'm
not.
like, yeah.
Like this is so, oh my god,
But
like,
like, is there? I feel like I vaguely remember someone mentioning that being like canonical a little bit. Does he
I
meet
mean,
her like young? Is that a thing? Or are they college or high school sweethearts?
no, yeah. In the comics, I believe like he's the professor in the very first issues,
Yeah,
and she is kind of
like an
shown to
intern.
be the younger girlfriend
Yeah,
student, I believe. But seeing that little girl, because
right.
I'm believing she's supposed to be like what, maybe hopefully at least 21.
Yeah,
But yeah, this guy right here is easily supposed to be. Come on, for you tell me this guy's younger than 35. Lies,
right, right.
lies.
Yeah, if he was 35, she would. Yeah, yeah. That girl was way too young when they met at that, or not when they met because he's staying there, which is also very strange because I don't think you ever see, Mr. Storm, like the father. So you have like this weird boarding house where this lady lets her children hang out with some of the boarding members, I guess like Hey Arnold. And so now you got the youngest daughter crushing on one of the tenants there.
Right, right,
And then eventually this fast forwards to a point where they're like, "Oh, we're gonna go to space. Let's go hang out. Let's go bring those kids that we
right, right. Oh, we've been friends with for the
that we've
last
been friends with." And I
10
remember I
years.
watched these things and like with a fine tooth comb and take notes. There's several points where I'm like, did they say what? There's a piece of information missing in this story, and I don't think I've gotten it.
Yeah, yeah, and I just don't know why they would choose to go this direction, except for maybe from this, some of the comics they've read. Oh, we got to maintain this age difference,
Yeah,
but I just make Rebecca look a little younger. Put her in like some ponytails and like a
yeah.
big dress or something, to be like, okay, like she's 17 or something when they first meet. Oh, and now he's in his 30s and she's like in her mid 20s.
Yeah.
Fine, but like that little girl, man, that's like a 13-year-old
You
little
know what
girl.
the issue is, to be honest, is that there's I don't know if you want to call it a film technique or if it's in the script or whatever, but this idea that it's like, oh, I wasn't paying attention to you before, but I'm paying attention to you now. And it's like, I don't think you were supposed to pay attention to her before because she was like 8. It'd be different if it
Yeah,
was your
a
way you said.
child.
It would be different if the way you said, like she's 17 and she's kind of advancing on him or giving him the googly eyes and he's not paying attention because he's like, oh, I live with this girl.
Hmm.
And then when she gets of age, it's still a little awkward, but maybe he he sees something different. But like an 8-year-old to be like, "Hey, get out of my face," and then 15 years later be like, "Oh, wow, hey,
Oh, what's
hi,
good?
yeah, hi, how are you?" Um, quite strange, quite strange.
Yeah.
Uh, so it
Oh,
turns
and
out that
then
oh
the accident that happens with Victor, which I totally liked in general. Like I like
yeah,
that they set that up and they had that happen, but it just made me laugh because I'm like, did Tim Story, who wrote who wrote the script for the first Fantastic Four movie, is
yeah.
this where he got his ideas from? Because when he's getting blasted by by all the electricity, it just makes
Oh
me
my
think of the
God,
remember the crappy Victor
yes,
Von Doom that they put in the first Fantastic and the second Fantastic Four movie that had electric powers for some reason. I'm like, did
yeah.
he watch this and go, "Oh, Doctor Doom, electric powers. That makes sense."
That him getting electrocuted is one of the scenes in this film that I'm like, this is going on way too long. Like this is he should have been like zapped and hit the ground, but he's
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
there getting electrocuted for like five
Just
minutes. I'm like, this is taking
and
way
then
too long.
Ben Grimm is doing his slow motion. I'm gonna come
Yeah,
save the day. I'll be there any minute.
I don't know
He's
physics.
okay.
Wouldn't that just make him get electrocuted too? I don't know physics all that well.
Well,
I'm
I mean,
assuming.
he did. I mean, they at least recognize that
Oh yeah,
Ben
you're
does
right. You're
get
right.
burnt. Ben does get burnt up.
Yeah.
He does.
Um.
He does take some of it, and then
Yeah, because
I like the
no, I was gonna say, the nurse and the doctor are seemingly up to no good. Victor's revealed to be alive, and they call him Your Highness. I don't think any of that ends up being explained, unless I completely missed it.
yeah, not really. It never gets it never gets explained. Like, oh, by the
Maybe it should
ways,
have been something like where it's listed early on that he's like a really rich foreign exchange student from Latveria, second in line,
yeah.
and like while this experiment happens, his father just so happens to die, so now they have to go get him to bring him back to, what I'm saying, bring him back to rule or something.
Oh,
But it's
there.
literally like, hey, you are king now. And later, I'm assuming the language of Latvian is written in places, right? Like symbols and whatever, and it's but none of it's explained. They get
None of
to
it.
Latveria at one point, I'm assuming, the castle, and he says, "I am the ruler here. I am the monarch. I'm the one who rules over this entire place." That's never explained. I don't think they ever say Latveria in it. So yeah, they just jump over an entire. They just say
Hmm.
that he's a monarch of a I'm a monarch.
What?
There's a lot of
What?
that. It's a whole lot
What?
of that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I mean, I like the idea that they wanted to include that variant part. That how do you do that in a modern sense? Because they didn't even do that with the new, Fan Four Stick, right? And we don't ever get there in the other two Fantastic Four films. He doesn't ever rule Latveria.
No, they kind of hint at it at the end of the first Fantastic Four movie and then into the second one because I
Yeah,
think in the second one you see him in a castle
he might have been
and
hiding
he's
out there or whatever.
they're hiding out there, but yeah, they never say blatantly like, "Oh, by the way, you're of royalty from this Eastern European country." They never blatantly explain it to the. Yeah, I'm trying
Do
to
you, you
like,
think you, you
I'm
think you
trying to
start
push
Doom
out.
there? Do you think you start the universe and he's already ruler of Latveria, or is it hard to start him normal and then ramp him up to there?
I think you ramp him up to there,
Yeah,
and definitely, you in the expositional dialogue of him when he's hanging out with Reed at university, you kind of just dump it in there, like, of course, the heir to the throne of Latveria would speak so boldly, kind of
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. You throw that in there, and you say, "Oh yeah, must you always wear your royal crest or something
Right,
like
right.
that." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just you kind of got to throw that in there, make that aware. I mean, I didn't. I'm trying to look at it from the perspective of someone who doesn't know comics and how much
Hmm.
they would question it, and I could see somebody being like, "Wait, what? Like this guy's a king or something too?"
Right. Yeah.
Top of that, like I can see that. I liked because it was refreshing to see like they're doing Doom like Doom.
Yeah.
He's not some punk hacker. He's not
Hmm.
some rich moron. He's a genius scientist. who's also of royalty. I like that. I like that they at least embraced that with him, and I like that they were like the way they did it. Like, of course, they want to keep this all hidden, so they fake his death. Oh, he's dead. We're gonna take him away, and oh yeah, Your Highness, you barely survived. We're gonna take you back home. We're gonna take care of you.
Yeah.
I personally like that.
I just think I got like a little bit more
Oh
backstory on
yeah,
that would have connected those dots. I am filling it in with my comic knowledge. I wonder if you don't know anything and you watch this, what is it?
yeah. No, you're definitely probably looking at it
I'm like,
huh?
I guess Latveria, but again,
Hmm.
if you didn't know, um, it's like if you didn't know, you would think like it was like a cult or something, like just some random
Yeah, yeah.
cult
I can
people
see that.
are
I can
like,
see
hey,
that.
my king, you're the guy who was hit by lightning, and we are the lightning
Right,
bolt,
right,
and
right. Yeah,
now,
you you survived. You survived the accident that predicted our leader.
right,
Just imagine
yeah,
that. Oh, heal. Can
yeah,
you
he's all
just hurt?
burnt,
Help my birds. Ah, my
he's all
birds.
burnt up.
I don't want to lead crap, man. Can you give me some band-aids?
The and does Doom's transformation predate theirs? Do you remember that at all?
Mm.
There's some that make it happen at the same time. Some iterations of the story. There's some iterations of the story where Doom is created first, and then the Fantastic Four, or vice versa.
Well,
Um,
I believe, canonically, technically, Doctor Doom is created first. I believe
yeah,
because it happens when before they get exposed to their powers that experiment happens, it goes haywire, and then kind of Victor Von Doom goes on his Doctor Doom quest where he tries to heal his face, and he finds the monks that teach him science, I mean magic, and the whole time he's still a genius scientist. So that because Doctor Doom doesn't make his first appearance until I believe it was Fantastic Four #4 in the
interesting.
comics, and he just shows up and he's Doctor Doom, and I believe there he kind of starts to give his backstory to the Fantastic Four.
Okay.
But his accident, I want to say, happened in Fantastic Four #1.
Interesting. Yeah, I always
I could be
wonder.
wrong about that, but definitely canonically, I want to say his act or his road to being Doom was already happening before Fantastic Four became Fantastic Four.
Yeah, so we get our like unspoken time jump. I went back a couple times in my notes, and I was just like, years later, because I don't have any
Yeah,
specifics.
never says.
I don't have any specifics. Years later, Reed talks his friend and pilot Ben Grimm into manning a spacecraft he built. This entire portion is incredibly vague, super vague. I went through a million more times to try to get it, to try to see if they put any science out. There's nothing. He's built some sort of
Hmm.
spacecraft, and he needs Ben Grimm, who they allude has done some piloting before.
Right.
Nothing about space though, and again, already shown to not be a scientist, to come and try to harness the power of a comet that last time they did this killed his best friend. And when they solidify these plans and this is something that they want to do, they then go and take two other young people who have also never went to space to do
Why
so.
not?
Very
Why
strange.
not? Seems perfectly legit to me. If I had a friend that had a spaceship and he was about to go do some crazy space science, I'd be like, "Yo, can I tag along?" I mean, it turned out great for those people that went underwater in that experimental sub. So why wouldn't it turn out great for us going to space to check out a comet?
That's another thing.
Come on.
It's like when the 5 o'clock news goes to Mrs. Storm's boarding house and talks to Mrs. Storm, and she goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe I let my kids go in that space thing." Like I'm trying to figure out what I'm missing here as far as why they were allowed to go on this thing. Is this one of those back in my day we used to drink from the garden hose kind of situations? Is this what this is? Like we should just let our kids go
Yes,
with astronauts back in our day. I don't know.
that's it.
This new generation's soft.
I
You know what I'm saying?
I told them if they're gonna go to space, make sure when the lights are out, y'all back in the house.
Yep. And you better bring that man home, that scientist man, because he's making some money. You better
He's
put the
making some
best
money. He
outfit
gonna take
on.
care of you.
Get that red
He gonna
lipstick
put
on,
some
girl.
babies in you.
Get that red lipstick on, girl. Even though
He gonna take good care of you.
she turns 21 tomorrow, so you good.
Yeah, right.
So, um, Realizing they would need a larger crew, they recruit the now young adult versions of Sue and Johnny Storm. Reed is taken aback at Sue's adult figure. That's the kindest way I can put the looks that he gives that very young woman when she shows up. Very attractive woman, I will also say. I can say that without sounding too creepy or gross. The actress is very attractive as well. Um, oh no, I put in the notes. Reed is taken aback at Sue's adult figure in kind of a creepy way.
I mean, from in that interaction, yes, because this is a little girl that you've obviously seen grow up. And
Yeah,
here's the thing, based on this, I mean, you have to imagine he's been going back because I don't think I think it's hinted that
he
they
lives
don't live
there.
there they don't live there
Or not,
anymore.
not
I
anymore.
don't
No.
not anymore. But they must have been going back, to visit at least once a year. So you've probably been watching this girl grow. And then like this particular day is the day you're just like, whoa, hey, now I notice you differently. Like,
The other reason they were
no.
said to be going on this trip is because, according to Ben, no one knows as much about this case as they do.
So right, so therefore you're communicating with these people.
What? But he looks at her in this moment like we do, meaning like he hasn't seen her in the same amount of time span. Like this is the first time he's seen adult Sue. Uh, and again, it just doesn't come on. It just doesn't come
I
off
feel
right.
like I feel like at this point is when what's his name? Chris Hannity? Is
Oh
that his
yeah,
name?
yeah, Chris Hansen.
Chris Hansen. I feel
Yeah,
like that's when he should have came out and said, Reed.
yeah, yeah.
Have
What
a
are you
have
gonna
a
do
seat.
with this young woman on this spacecraft? Where is she gonna sit? Hmm?
Let's read back the transcript.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
I want to perform some quadratic formulas on you.
Yeah, zero G
Huh?
is for me.
Zero G.
What are you what are you over there talking about over there, Reed? So um as they go to leave, their mother Storm, Mrs. Storm calls them the Fantastic Four. So you get the moment.
Fantastic Four.
Oh, look at you guys, the Fantastic Four. We then see the evil doctor and nurse are working for some unknown man in a metal mask. Eventually, in my notes, I will stop pretending I don't know who this is, but and currently,
I was clueless. I was clueless.
absolutely no idea.
I thought it was DiCaprio from The Man in the Iron Mask. I was like, what?
I do
Secret
like the
casting.
I do like the mask though. I like the mask.
It
I like
does.
how it works
Hmm.
in shadow. I like the
Yes.
weird, and maybe it's because I watched way too much Inspector Gadget, but the weird like claw-esque zooms, right? Of just like these are like 80s movie villain tropes of like just showing like the eyes or one eye, right? And not doing the full reveal, even though again, um, but I also, and maybe I'm getting this wrong too, I feel like under the garb, he has an accent that he doesn't have when he's normal. I see, felt
Yeah,
like
it's
he was,
called it's called muffled mask.
but
Yeah.
like
I mean, that's
at
what it
some
sounded like to
points,
me.
he throws a little bit of a, like a flair accent, and I'm like, what is that doing? I thought it was like to
I
disguise, but no, he at various points where he's threatening Reed, I'm like, I don't understand what this man's saying.
It's literally the muffled mask, and based on you've seen the documentary and the stuff we've looked into, they were supposed to fix this in post, and he was supposed to re-record all his lines, and they were just like, nah. And to this, and even in that recent, he even said it. He said he would love to go back and still redo that because I believe he would have done it way better. He could have done it way better. I mean, it's
Yeah,
Doom. You have to have that Doom flair. So when you're getting it lost behind a muffle, it loses so much. But on a whole, he looks great. Like it's awesome. $1 million budget, where again, most of it went to this costume, not to
right,
that one up behind you.
right.
It looks good. The mask looks good. The gauntlets look good. The cape looks good. Like you can tell they just sit there as okay, this is see this Jack Kirby drawing? Make
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I liked it. I liked it. And you telling me in a movie with say a $2 million budget, it would have looked
Right.
awesome. So, but
So
you throw MCU money at this, it would look great, look perfect.
it's also one of those things where it's like you were saying before, their attention to detail when it comes to how things look, the aesthetic. There's not a single image online of this that makes me groan, but there are several of like Fanforstic or Galactus in Rise of Silver Surfer, where I'm just like, this actually would have lost a point if Colossus was Galactus. Whatever they called it or named it, I'm glad it was whatever it was. But if that would have been Galactus, this film would have taken a point down. It would have been it would have been the one that started calling this storm,
Mhm.
Galactus.
Consider, I mean, you know what's funny now that you say that, considering how many characters they did throw into this movie, I'm surprised they didn't make Colossus be like the Silver Surfer. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it looks like there's a person in there or something. And I think that would have been cool had they just dropped that hint that, oh, that's Silver Surfer and that's the
And it would
sequel.
all
That
been
would
the
that
it all would have been the power cosmic.
right. Because I mean that would have been a la the Heroes Reborn
Mhm.
origin for for the Fantastic Four, because that's how they did it when they did the Heroes Reborn universe. Was the cosmic radiation came from Silver Surfer, who was exploring the galaxy for planets for Galactus, which I like that they did that, how they put all that together. So and I think like here no Heroes Reborn was a few years after this. It was 96, I believe. Yeah,
Okay.
so
My beef is now here with this film. I feel like this film has a perfect A and B plot. The A plot is our heroes trying to, going through this whole thing and they're going to get their powers and stuff like that. The B plot is Von Doom working in the shadows to try to stop them. And then you have the love plot, you have the jeweler plot, you have this I don't know what this is. And every time it cuts to this part of the movie, I groan. There's several times where I'm watching this thing and I'm like, they kind of handled that pretty well, the like when they get their powers and they're on the ground, that's basically what happens in the comics. Like there's certain moments from this you could tell were ripped right out of the Jack Kirby playbook, but this next part here, um, the men that are working for the guy in the mask tell him that they've tracked down a diamond that is going to be delivered to Reed. A weird underground villain also sets his sights on the diamond. Ben Grimm assaults a blind woman and then picks her up against her will, and they fall in love, I think.
oh man, why do you have to say assaults? He doesn't assault her. He
He
assaults her afterwards. He assaults her
he
afterwards. He technically
yes,
assaults her afterwards.
he
He
body
runs.
checks her.
He
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 body
body check. He
checks
doesn't.
her.
He body checks her, and then the way he apologizes is to pick her up off the ground
It's okay. Stop crying. It's
and
okay.
to have some sort of eye contact with her with a blind woman
Look at me.
makes it
Look at
makes
me.
him makes him have love at first sight, and for her love at first touch.
I've got to, I'm not an ableist. I just feel like I should say that up front. But I think that TV and movies went a little bit crazy with the trope that people who can't see just randomly touch people's faces. I don't think that that's a thing.
Oh, big time. Big
I,
time. Yes.
I don't think that that's a thing. I think that it can be a thing. I think that it's probably an incredibly intimate thing, right? To try to have your senses work overtime to complete a picture in your mind of somebody. But I don't think you do that to the bus driver. I don't think you go to Burger King and go, "Hey, quick, let me
Right.
touch your face," kind of thing. And I don't think it happens in situations like this where a guy shoulder checks you, shatters your statue, or whatever the hell you were making. This building, don't know what it is. Don't know, is it a school? Is it a laboratory? If it's a laboratory, then why is she there? I think at one point it's alluded that she might be there to make molds for the helmets for the space trip. That's what she's doing there, working there. This Alicia Masters, as we find out. She is making facial molds, ghost style, right, with the clay and stuff.
Hmm.
And her job is to make the head molds for the spaceship helmets. That's all I got from this film. Because they come in, remember she gets like a package
No,
later
you're
on,
no,
and
you're right. You're right. Like,
their
yeah, wait,
heads.
wait, wait. Like, what is, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
her
because
job
never,
there.
never once do we hear like this is a government experiment. Never
No.
once do we hear anything about like, hey, I got to talk to the military, or I got to talk to the U.S. president, or someone, or NASA.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's so vague. And now that you got me thinking about like, why was she there? I mean,
Yeah.
the only thing I'm thinking is, look, it's New York City. It's New York City. And we all know that in all those tall buildings, it's not just like one company. There's
Right.
many companies. So maybe so maybe one of the floors is a art studio.
Paper mache, paper mache. Off.
You
Oh
know,
man, and
a not for profit for blind people, you know?
what seedy business is Reed doing where he knows how to get this diamond that this diamond that he needs for this experiment? That they show up in an armored truck with a suitcase. Um, Again, very very little is said about this thing. Reed shows off the massive diamond that will help him finally perfect the experiment that he and Victor tried years ago, hoping that if he can harness Colossus, Victor wouldn't have died in vain. Um, Unbeknownst to everyone but a mysterious spectator, a villain called the Jeweler replaces the diamond with a fake, ensuring that things will go south for our space cadets. As they are in space, Colossus passes, but the equipment malfunctions, and our heroes are hit with a massive wave of cosmic radiation as their ship explodes in orbit. The masked man is seen watching these events unfold and laughs maniacally, thinking that the team is dead. What do you think of the Jeweler?
Well, the jeweler, I immediately figured out. I was like, the jeweler was not meant to be the jeweler. The jeweler is the mole man,
Yeah,
but the budgetary constraints uh didn't allow for it because you can see that the jeweler has a lot of prosthetics, has a costume of some kind, and then you can see where it's just like whoever was making the budgetary decisions was like
yeah,
was who was making the budgetary decisions was like, okay, we have the money for the mole man, but those moloids and monsters that he leads, yeah, that ain't happening. So since we've already got the script and we already got everybody casted, I got a great idea. That's the jeweler now.
the
And
Jeweler.
it
Eh,
was, and I didn't see why they had to make his plot comical, because anytime he's on screen, the music changes,
yeah,
and it all comes across very comical. And I'm like, why didn't they just maintain that serious tone? Like even not even just them, but even Doom's lackeys that are being sent to get the jewel, when they're on screen, it reminds me of like
slapsticky. Yeah,
yeah, it reminds me of like when Bulk and Skull would get on screen on Power Rangers,
the
and they
Wet
would play that goof,
Bandits. Yeah.
that kind of stuff, and that goofy music with them. Yeah, there you go, there you go. And I was just like, why did they choose to do this? Because if you just change that music, it, to me, what's being filmed maintains that level of creepiness. Here you have somebody obviously living in the sewers with a creepy band of people, because all those people who's working for him are creepy looking,
Yeah,
and even Doom's lackeys, like the fact that they're doing what they're doing in the dead of night. Like,
right.
just keep that music going with that dark tone. The only thing I'm thinking is, all right, they of course they wanted to get that kid audience. So you want to have like these moments of brevity where it's like, okay, now that we're not looking at the guy in the creepy iron mask and the pure adulterer aren't speaking anymore, let's have something in here goofy for the kids, which I felt like took away from this movie. Because to me, if you had just maintained that level of like, just I'm tired of saying I'm tired of saying creepy, but
Yeah, yeah.
just the scary tone, then I would have totally ran with this idea that there's this new character of the jeweler, and he's also just another scary character you don't want to run across. But the fact that they made him
It's
kind of
just
comical,
it feels like two things working against each other. If he's a jeweler, or if he has an obsession with jewels, shouldn't he be rich or be more well-to-do than living in the sewer? Somewhere along the lines, they decided that he was like a leprechaun, right? That he's just like, oh, top of the
something.
morning, and I'm gonna smuggle all this gold, and I'm gonna smuggle it into my cave, and no one else could have it. But it's like, no, he's a regular human man. Like, if he has diamonds, then he should just sell them for it, because he goes out of his way to take this diamond and then has no reason for it until he decides then to give the diamond to Alicia, right? And then
Right.
as soon as Doom comes for it, he's like, oh yeah, go ahead, take it. Like, you know, he's like, fine. If you're gonna take the girl, you're gonna take the diamond, then it, you know, it's all over. So yeah, it's really odd, his placement in this, and I do think it in a world where you have to suspend your disbelief for a lot of this, this is the hardest stuff to for me to bend my mind around, especially the, as you would say, caricature-esque henchmen. You know, like they all
Yeah.
have like British accents and are talking in a Shakespearean, oh, my master.
Yeah, yeah. Which I was like, why is there an English dude living in the New York City sewers?
Right, and I'm like, are they mentally unwell? Like, are you trying to tell me like these are a bunch of like homeless, mentally unwell people living under the
Yeah.
sewers, and one of them
I'm
just
like,
happens to have a fetish for fucking jewelry?
oh, is this guy friends with the other Shakespearean actor from the Punisher movie? What was that dude's name?
Oh, Shakes.
Shakes. I'm like, are they friends? Do they hang out in the sewers together and get drunk and just, oh, let's do Macbeth? Yes, that's
And I'll say it. At one point, they play some vaguely European music as he's hopping around, like gypsy sort of music, while he's hopping around doing his stuff. I don't know, man. I don't think I want to invite the jeweler to the barbecue. I don't think
no,
that character
no,
deserves to hang
definitely
out
not.
and around us. I think there's some stereotypes they were playing around with there with that. But yeah, absolutely sort of ridiculous there. But we do get the origin, you know, with this whole thing blowing up. He just he just like, what is that? Indiana Jones, is it? He just takes the diamond and puts another diamond there. Another He's a homeless man in the sewers, and he has an exact replica of the
Mhm.
diamond that he just found out was gonna be where it was. Doesn't it,
And
again,
yeah,
very confusing. Is
that
he a genius?
I guess, and I love the fact of how easily he gets around Reed's super sophisticated security system. He just hops.
Yeah,
He's like one day Catherine Zeta-Jones is going to copy me
right.
in entrapment, and but I'm going to do this so perfectly. And there's again, I get it, the budget. I don't want to dig on it too badly, but there's like you can clearly see that the dude steps on lines. Like, the
Yeah,
dude steps through lasers. Like you set this alarm 20. I'm like Reed was probably thinking, nah, just it's not real, just putting it here so to scare people away. And this dude's like, I know it's not real. But I'll
and
play along for a little bit.
Doom is watching it from his camera, which allows me to believe that Reed has this footage as well of a strange man tiptoeing around his laser, switching his diamonds out, and going back. And again, I don't know why they're filming any of it if no security is looking through it. Hey, everything's good to go. Let's just turn on all the machines and go to outer space with these two strange kids. And then their ship explodes. So
Right.
on the ground, Ben is miraculously shown to be alive. He finds Reed, who is seemingly unscathed, and they locate the Storm siblings. Surprised that they aren't dead after their spacecraft exploded, they each start to realize that they have gained some strange abilities. Sue Storm can turn invisible, Johnny is seen making fire, and Reed's body has become elastic and malleable. They build a campfire and discuss what went wrong, with Reed telling the team not to panic. Johnny flips out, but Ben, who seemingly had no effects from the cosmic storm, gets everyone back on the same page. I actually like Johnny flipping out. I think he did a good job flipping out, getting mad about don't panic. He's like, what are you talking about?
I
Everyone
mean,
thinks we're dead.
it makes sense. The only thing I'm thinking is that I mean, there's so much wrong about this scene to me. Like one,
Yeah,
you when like this if you something crashes that far in space and then
yes.
it comes down to Earth.
In a 4 foot radius. Everything
Yes,
lands
no, that's
in a
not
four
the way
foot
it
radius.
happens. I mean, I see Johnny came from nowhere, but
Yeah,
even still, like he's like barely over the hill,
right.
and then like Ben is moving spaceship parts off of
Yeah,
Reed, right? And
yeah.
it's like, come on, guys, put some effort into the sound editing, please. It's clearly like cardboard. You hear this like
Aluminum
cardboard, like
foil, and
like come on, man, like it's spaceship parts.
yeah.
And then the space, you really get a good look at the spacesuits that they're wearing,
Hmm.
which is clearly like a t-shirt and then like a long sleeve undershirt.
Right.
And if you've ever seen an astronaut's uniform, like their spacesuit, that thing is like perfectly sealed because
Yeah,
you don't want space to get into, your spacesuit.
yeah.
And I get it. I know the budgetary constraints and whatnot, but it's just like, put a little. It should have just been like one big suit. But it's clearly like like a 90s kid with a t-shirt over a long sleeve shirt.
Right. No, no, 100%.
And
And
you could totally like, yeah, cosmic radiation, you'll be fine. This will keep you perfectly safe.
that's why I had to go back again, like when I'm taking my notes, because the ship explodes, and then I think they cut to Doom, and then when they cut back, everyone's just on the ground on Earth. It's
Oh
not a
yeah, yeah,
case.
yeah.
It's not a case where it's like the ship got hit with something. We're going down. We're going to
And
crash into Earth. Seemingly, the
they
entire ship
explode.
exploded in the air outside of Earth's orbit, and then everything came crashing down into the ground, and everyone's all like, "Oh my God, we're okay."
Well,
That's weird.
you didn't see the parachutes on the
No,
floor?
no, no. The
The
space parachute, the
the
space
space
parachute.
parachutes. Yeah,
But
those are
yeah,
common.
yeah, Johnny. Yeah, I like Johnny Flippin. I think that he did a good job playing a. He's good at what they're trying to get him to do is to be a hothead. In the most
Yeah, of
PG
course.
sense, that they could do there. I did find it funny that Ben is still like, I don't know why y'all tripping. Like it is what it is. He's the only one that right now is not dealing with
Right.
anything. So he's
We're all
like,
like, stand
yeah.
by, Ben.
Yeah,
Stand by.
and I'm like, what is the point of this reveal? I'm like, what are they? Why are they waiting? Okay, well, wait. We cut to the castle, and the masked man and cloaked figure is told by his henchmen that Reed and the others survived the explosion, so he demands they find them. The blind woman, ID'd as Alicia Masters, is tasked with working on the memorial for Reed and the others, and is heartbroken to learn that Ben is dead. She finds out Ben is dead, and in that night they pick them up from the government picks them up from the from the campfire.
Well, 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 that's the thing. Is it the government that picks them
well,
up?
well, you know what I mean. Like what is perceived to be the government that picks them. Oh yeah, so they would keep it quiet, huh? That they're alive.
Well, not just that they're alive, but is it the U.S. government that picks them up?
No, no, no. Eventually, it's not because they go to the doc. They go to the doctor, and
That's what
that's
I'm
to be the
saying. That's what I'm
Laverian
saying.
people.
That's what I'm saying. But
When do you find out? When does America find out that these people are alive? Quite strange,
I guess when they break out of the Laverian castle,
I
and
guess.
there's they don't bother making a retraction, or hey, by the way, Reed and Sue and everybody's alive. They made a big deal about the headline that they're dead. Nothing about them coming back.
That Laverian castle has like 3 rooms in it. The entire castle.
How many rooms do you need?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I mean 3 rooms.
Back in my
Yeah,
day, in garden hose.
exactly. Exactly.
But
What you got a throne room, a jail room, and a bathroom. It's about right.
they never do the nicknames in this, right? Mr. Fantastic, Human Torch, Invisible Woman, the Thing.
The
I don't think
only
that.
yeah, the only clue we get to that is like a couple times I think he kind of says the thing. We definitely never hear Mr. Fantastic. We kind of hear something about Johnny,
He says Flame
and
On a couple of times, but I don't know if
yeah.
he's ever called the Human Torch. Um.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
Yeah.
so that's that, right? So she's making the molds for the helmets, and because those came out so well, now you can make the memorial of these people who are now dead. Well, now you're tasked to make their memorial. And by the way, one of them was the guy who physically assaulted you in that hallway that you, for some reason, now you are in love with. Something about his caveman-like features that you felt
That's right.
prominently on made you
That's
feel
right.
hopelessly romantic towards him.
The
And I
way the
say
way he
love.
just
She says love later.
yeah,
Love.
love. The way he ran me over and proceeded to
Ignoring
pick
my
me up
boundaries.
and then pick me up and forcefully place his presence upon me and ignore the fact that I'm blind and have no idea where I'm at. He's so dreamy.
She was raptured. The jeweler, who is seemingly just a man, like we said, complete with underground lair and minions, makes his lackeys find him a queen, so they abduct her. That's another scene that drives me up the wall because it's like you said, um, it's strangely comedic even though it should be absolutely horrifying that all these people just broke into a blind woman's job
Right.
or a home. I can't remember which one. Maybe she lives at her job or whatever, and then kidnap her. But there's a sequence in this, and I am not lying, where they just surround her and kind of like menace her, like
Yeah, like
growl, like growl, and yeah. And I'm like, what
like,
are
bro,
they
this should be
doing?
terrifying, but the music is like, ha ha, ha ha. It's like, no, this is terrifying. This is
And again, it's
creepy.
not like she can see what they're doing. She just
Right.
hears a bunch of people around her. Again, I don't know. I think I put growling. That's only like they're just surrounding her and growling, and then someone just sprays her in the face with some agent that knocks her out. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is
And
going
then
on here?
and then like they like the head um
Goon.
henchman, I forget the goon, whatever his name.
Yeah,
He's super creepy. Like
yeah.
that dude, I was like, I'd be uppercutting this dude.
He's on a
Ah,
registered list somewhere. You know that 100%.
definitely, definitely. It can't be within 10 miles of a school. That's
Yeah,
why I live in the sewers.
he's taking upskirt videos at Target or something. I don't trust that
For
man
real.
at all. But in this instance, yeah, it's like, oh, are you guys done surrounding her? Now I can come and spray her in the face with this thing. One person I think comes up to her and she like grabs him by the shoulders and shakes him a bit and drops him. And I was like, wow, she's about to take care of all these guys. But no, there was just too many and they surrounded her. She didn't know what to do. Maybe it's like a weird messed up sensory overload thing they did to her, where they just surrounded her and just yelled at
Oh
every
yeah, oh yeah.
direction. She
She's
can't
blind.
see.
We're yelling at her in every direction.
And then we
We're
spray her in the
overwhelming her
face.
sense. Ah,
And then we spray her in the
this
face. The old 1-2 from the
we heard she
Borat.
was we heard she was part of Bill's entourage. She was called the Blind Viper. So we gotta
Yeah, yeah.
we gotta
Take her
overwhelm
out.
her.
So a form of government shows up and locates Reed and his people, but everyone is shocked that overnight Ben has transformed into a rock monster. No one's more
which
shocked
was
than Ben himself.
I love the fact that no one is surprised. Well, the military guys are surprised by it, but this is supposed to be like a reveal
Yeah,
where how like the trio are fine with it. They're just like, no, that's Ben. Like, how do you
yeah,
know that's Ben?
yeah, hundred
This
percent,
guy
right?
was
Yeah,
this guy was
yeah,
in the dark. You two were snuggling,
yeah.
which I
Again, very
how
strange.
how
Very strange.
how the relationship progresses from there is hilarious to me. But the three of them are not near him. So then he emerges from the shadows
Hmm.
and and they're just like, no, that's our friend Ben. How do you know that, man?
Yeah,
How do you
yeah.
don't know that? You don't
I
know
knew he
that.
like an alien didn't get into his ear and now it's taken over his entire body and
Exactly.
transformed it overnight or whatever. Um, but now
Like,
it's
no.
now it's Ben's turn to hate himself and to hate his life. So he just starts to scream and walk around and yell and be all upset. He curses Reed and screams into the darkness. um, love the mask. Love the pronounced brow. But this is right there in the age of that those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle helmets, right? Where they could
Well,
move their
that's
lips
what
and
I was
stuff.
gonna say. Like, I
Yeah.
felt like they because the Turtles movie was what, 90, right? 90, 91.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I want to say I feel like even though they never said it in anywhere that I looked, I feel like they must have gotten this tech, or at least this tech was inspired by those movies.
Yeah.
Which again, you watch it now, and especially I love that one picture that you can clearly see a dude's face inside the
Inside
mask
the yeah.
in the movie. But I mean, like for the time, those were advanced, and then seeing how they applied here, you can see where, okay, of the $1 million budget, probably 500,000 went into the suit. It's overall impressive. But what's messed up about this is the fact that it's no longer Michael Bailey Smith. It's
Oh
now
yes, yes. The dude from
it's
Casino.
now yes, Carl Charfalio. Right. He's from Casino, the guy who gets his head crushed in the vice.
Right.
So it's funny to see this guy come out who, I guess if you're not really paying that much attention, he's smaller than Michael Bailey Smith. So for me, it was funny. Like, this guy's smaller, and then I just thought it was funny that they felt the need to give Ben, the Thing, I should say, the Thing, a 6-pack, because
Oh yeah.
I've never in any iteration of Fantastic Four, and I've read many issues of Fantastic Four, I've ever seen them give the Thing a six pack, but here it was just like, no, we got to give him a six pack. Like, of course, he still has the broad chest, big shoulders, powerful hands. Never a six pack. Why did they put the effort into giving the Thing costume a six pack? I was just, that made
There's
me laugh.
times where he's just static, and I'm like, I'm with it. I'm like, I dig it, especially like the more dark you
On
can
a
put on
whole,
him. Yeah, like the
don't get don't
silhouette and stuff. I'm
on a
like,
whole, this was great, especially again given the time period. Considering that you fast forward from this movie to the first Fantastic Four movie, it's about 15 years, right?
roughly, yeah,
You know,
10 years.
the something like that.
Yeah,
The, the Thing costume in that to me is
it's not a huge
not that
upgrade.
much.
It's not a
No, it's
huge
not.
upgrade. No.
It's not. It's not. And yeah, I love seeing the mouth moving and the brow. I wish they would have done a little bit more with the eye makeup underneath to hide
Yes,
the flesh,
I agree as well.
because it did look kind of funny. Like he's all rock, but he's got like this. You could clearly see like he still has like this much eye
And sometimes you can
flesh.
see his mouth in the mouth too, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
as
yeah,
it goes. But
yeah.
I it's so weird about like what parts of a character end up becoming like their most defining traits. I didn't realize until I had seen this film that to me the things is the brow. It's all the brow. Get the nail the brow,
Mhm.
I'm down with the character. And they were able to in this, and as you saw in the documentary, like the fact that he was able to do all the different emotions, look sad but also look
Mhm.
angry, I think all that stuff kind of worked. We should have got a little bit more buddy cop stuff with him and Johnny. I
Yeah.
think those two could have been. They make Ben just absolutely miserable in this, but I guess from I've seen now enough stuff that is the first arc, huh? They get hit with the stuff, and then he gives Reed a bunch of grief for
Yep.
becoming a rock freak, and so now I will do everything I can, my friend, to reverse the effects, and then
I
somehow
mean,
along
that's
the
like
lines forget about it.
in the comics, that's the first thing that happens. Like he immediately transforms into the Thing in the comics, and then he grabs a tree and just starts swinging it at Reed. It's like, you son of a bitch, look what you did to me. And Reed's like, my bad, man.
That's funny as hell.
I was just trying to get with Sue. So I was trying to impress her with my spaceship.
Yeah, Um, let me. Okay, so the damn jeweler. They're placed in isolation and given physicals to see what new abilities they possess. This was like another like kind of moment here where it's like, oh, you do this and you do that, and I need to take blood from you or whatever, and whatever, yada yada, through all that
I
stuff.
don't know why I don't know why they shot it the way they shot it, where it was from, that the headshot of the doctor and then the headshot of whoever he's talking to.
Yeah,
I was just like, why are you filming it like this? It felt so
it
cheap.
everyone. There's a lot of character actors in here and like very minor characters that needed to have just played it a little bit more straight instead of playing it so hokey. And I feel like this is one of those characters. He had to play it a little bit more straight, but he quite literally enters the scene with the what like the stereotypical fake doctor. What is that? A mirror thing? What is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
thing
yeah,
that they put
yeah,
on
yeah.
their head? It's like
That
a
I've
costume
never
thing. I've never figured out what that
outside of the
was.
movies, I've never seen a doctor wear that. And even
Right.
then, I think doctors like in the 1950s wore that.
Yeah, at this time, ER's got to be a thing, and I don't think they're rocking it on ER, General Hospital.
Nope,
No one's rocking it
not
on
even
that, so why
Scrubs.
would you put it in here? Yeah, not even Scrubs. Again, I'm just like, okay. Um, and it's like everything involving anyone else but the team in Doom, I can't stand. But whenever the team's on screen, even as hokey as it could be sometimes in Doom, I'm totally down with whatever they're trying to do here. But it feels like they're shoving a third comic in here that I don't want, the
Yeah,
back issues
yeah,
for. And I'm like, why do I have to read this to finish the rest of the story? And it's a lot of the jeweler stuff.
yeah,
Um,
definitely, definitely. Yeah, I mean, and this was the whole purpose of this was just to highlight everybody's powers. Ooh, what do you do? Oh, you're a rock person. I can't take your blood. Oh, you turn invisible. Kind of.
take your own. What about take your own blood? You remember that?
Oh.
Always got to cut to an effect shot, always to do the stretching thing. Absolutely ridiculous.
And it's so rare that you see him entirely stretching. It's always like, oh, we got to zoom in on just the arm because
Right.
we don't have the budget to highlight. what's happening there.
This might be the highlight reel of some of the worst uses of Reed's powers in the history of Fantastic Four media. It's mostly tripping people and kicking things and stretching your arm out to grab things. Literally, what was Sue gonna fall on? She was gonna fall on something, and that's how he found out he had powers. He was like, "No, very cute 20-year-old Sue," and then he stretched his arm
Oh, that's
out
right.
and he
And he
grabbed
catch, yeah, yeah,
her.
she's, yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, it was.
The power of boners, bro. It's like when you're when you're an X-Man and puberty hits, and all of a sudden you get your superpowers.
Woo.
Not great. But there is also another wrinkle here that actually is interesting and would have been 10 times more interesting in a more serious film. And it's this idea that all of these physicals are being done by Doctor Doom.
Yeah, I dug that. I was like, ooh, this is so cool. Because, all right, because immediately the initial crash, I was sitting there going, okay, and now immediately like the United States military or NASA, somebody shows up to save them. Nope. And
No.
then eventually the military that does show up, ooh, you eventually find out, oh, it's there. They must have crash landed in the country they never really mentioned, Latveria, and they take them in. And all these experiments are being done by Dr. Doom. Very, very cool. I dig that. I like that. And then how easily they end up escaping though.
Oh yeah, 100%. But first he tells the doctor, he's like, I want to basically uh remove all of the colossus that is in them, all the cosmic radiation that's giving them their powers, put it inside of me so I could have all the powers, and then kill them. Uh, but he realizes that he needs the diamond that the jeweler stole to do so. So he sends his men underground to find the villain, and they are confronted by the jeweler's henchmen. Back at the
Which again, I hated that. Again, this could have been a creepy scene, a great shootout scene, or something. No, no, it's treated comically. These two henchmen going to go talk to the sewer people, and they were immediately outnumbered, but yet they still try to turn it into a Mexican standoff.
yeah, it again, and when you take all this stuff out, this movie's got to be an hour. you know,
No, because I think with the whole movie is what I think barely 90 minutes.
barely. It hits like maybe 125,
Yeah.
instead of 130. Um, and so, and again, it's one of the classic ones. So that means there's like 2 minutes or 3 minutes of credits up front. You know, so you got the credits up front, you got the credits in the back, and yeah. So it's probably like a hour and 20.
There weren't much credits in the front,
No, but that's definitely
from what I
where they
remember.
were. But it probably wasn't a lot. Just probably just the main cast. Music in this was fine.
No,
Or
honestly, the music to me was the best part. And it
yeah,
turns out most of that was paid for out of pocket on the side.
they really
So
wanted to get
like
this thing done.
they wanted to get it done, and there was a passion there, right? You don't spend a couple $1,000s out of your own pocket if you're not passionate about something.
Yeah.
So just imagine if these guys had a real budget or had been allowed to put this movie out the way they wanted to.
That's one of the
I really,
heartbreaking things that the that documentary discusses is how some people felt when they realized that their studio was going to be the one to do the very first Fantastic Four movie. And if you were a fan of them from the comics, how monumentous that whole, you know, task would be, and how cool, and we
yeah,
get to do that here, and here's the suits, and here's the, you know, again, this isn't the things I don't like about this film are not lack of effort. I think you stated it quite plainly. It's things that they were handcuffed.
yeah,
Things that they couldn't use this, they couldn't use that. And I could see some of this other stuff being like you were saying, like stuff to make it a 4 quadrant movie. Like yeah, just stick the weird short jeweler dude in there, and we have to have a love story in here because no one's gonna buy the Reed and Soothing, so we're gonna need to do
yeah, right,
the Ben and
right.
Alicia thing because we don't want to nail the other one like too hard on this. Or
Yeah, right.
even though we will
It's
time skip and
there.
they will get married, but whatever. we never we
I
literally never see them date.
nope, nope. And honestly,
Back in my
I
day,
really, I
the good old days, you can go to a
not just
woman's house and wed her daughter. without ever
right.
taking her on a date.
That's right. This is because I'm not
Yes.
married.
And I love him, Mama. I love him. I've got to. I've got. Yeah. Again, like, like I said, it's got to be good old days stuff. But I love that like the plan is quite. I understood his plan more than I understood Julian McMahon's plan in the other one. It's like, oh, I want the power of the Colossus. I tried to get it, it almost killed me. These bastards try to get it too, but luckily some random third party messed it up for them. Yes, they're dead. Damn it, they did get the powers. So now I want it from them and I want them dead. I think that's quite. You can connect those dots, right?
For sure. I followed the plot of this fine. It made perfect sense to me. And then it got me even more excited at the idea of, ooh, is he going to put it in himself? I hope he doesn't. Is he going to create the Super Scroll? Are we going to get scrolls? Like, because since they planted so many seeds for so many characters, because even at one point with the jeweler, I was thinking, the fact that he's obsessed with Alicia Masters makes me think maybe he was also supposed to be the puppet master.
Okay,
Because the
yeah.
puppet master
It's their
is
dad, right?
her father, and yeah, he's obsessed with just controlling her. So I'm like, oh, we have all these seeds that I'm looking at it like, man, was this the plan? Like, were they building a franchise here? Because there's so many seeds in this movie that I was like, wow, this is cool. I'm following it along. I'm liking what I see from Doctor Doom for the most part. Because like you said, Julian McMahon's Doctor Doom was like a
His skin
corny
was
mad.
peeling.
Yeah, oh yeah, like scratches. Oh my god, like
Yeah, his skin was peeling.
which I felt like was because Julian McMahon, he played the what was it, Nip Tuck. I'm just like, oh,
Yes.
was that supposed to be like a Nip Tuck acknowledgement? Like, oh yeah, look, he's
Oh,
obsessed with.
he comes back to he's in Runaways.
Oh,
He's the dad in Runaways.
that
Oh,
show.
that's another
The
one. Like they were like in the book, they get rid of the parent plot like volume 1. In this one, they stretch it for 3 seasons, and you're like, wait,
they're supposed to be gone.
when are you gonna get to the fun parts? Why do we keep going to the parents' love triangles and stuff
And
like
why
that?
hasn't Alex betrayed the team yet? Like that's like the best reveal.
Yeah, man, ridiculous.
Anyway, let's focus on my
Yeah,
man Corman's
yeah, that's one flawed flawed comic book property. Let's talk about a different one. Um, Back at the government facility, Johnny Storm is getting antsy up after being prodded and poked and wants to leave. Ben thinks that it will be best to stay, but Reed is getting suspicious about the whole thing, so they come up with a plan. The jeweler refuses to sell the diamond to Doom's men, saying that he already promised it to his queen, and reveals a bound and gagged Alicia Masters. They laugh at him for being an incel because they're like, obviously she doesn't want to be with you, bro. Like,
Let it go, man.
you're
It's
telling me you
over.
won't sell that thing because it's hers, and she's like literally
Doesn't want nothing to
restrained.
do with you.
Literally restrained, bro. Take the money, man. Please. And he's like, nah, it is what it is. So they're like, well, then we'll take it by force. They pull out some guns, but apparently all of the jeweler's men have guns. This is like
Which
the
when they
greatest
found them
gang ever.
when I found them when they found them at street level, they take them
Yeah.
with at gunpoint. So like, what was these morons' plan? Like,
Yeah. If
oh,
he
once
was
we
never
get
going to
down there,
entertain the deal, then they should have just been dead there. It's very strange. So, yep.
I love the fact that afterwards, though, when they go to report back to Doctor Doom,
Hmm.
why are they wearing sunglasses? And
I
then
don't
for
know.
dramatic effect, one of them takes it off to to really explain who the jeweler is and how serious he is, and then puts them back on. Like,
And then they do like whenever they get yelled, they do like the slapsticky, like one hits the other and the other one hits the other one back. Kind of like, that's
yes,
your fault. Huh? It's your fault. Kind of stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, I need to pick a tone real quick.
yeah, exactly.
Um, Jeweler kicks him out, so they ask Doom if they should kill him, but he says he'll be there to handle it himself soon. When doctors come to take another round of samples from our team, Ben knocks them out cold so the rest of them can use their lab suits as disguises to find out what's really going on. Did you like the creative editing so he wouldn't have to actually fight these people? Basically, they just spin the frame around in
Yeah,
circles, Put
which
a
they
bunch
do
of
a
punch
couple
sound
times,
effects.
which they do a couple times in this movie. Where I think it's hilarious. It's so cheesy, but again, you know it's a budgetary constraint. That's all you know. That's what it is, and that's what's sad about it because it's that $1 million budget. This is all they have to do.
Maybe they should have done the shadow thing. You know, when you show like the shadows of people getting hit or
Oh
whatever
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
like this
yeah.
whole thing of just spinning it and then just putting punch sound effects was really, really strange. There
I
is there is a top of the mountain peak absolute horrendous scene in this film that we haven't gotten to yet. One that I watched back 4 times to make sure I understood the context of what was going on. It has nothing to do with like special effects. It's just about like writing. Like they just didn't know where to go. We're gonna get to it soon. But I was like this combined with everything
Hmm.
they've all the choices that they've made here in this moment. None of this makes sense.
I'm running through the numerous bad scenes in my head.
There's,
I'm just like, man, which one
there,
could it be?
I'll give you this. It has to do with Alicia Masters.
Okay.
But speaking of her, or speaking of everyone, um, they Sue knocks out a guard and they access a security room to open the door to escape. Sue knocks the guard out. She's able to knock the guard out because she realizes that she can go invisible, something that she knew from before. Something that we all found out is that, especially with the hospital gown, plus this now whatever hazmat suit thing that she's rocking, her clothes go invisible with her, which is an interesting thing to note. If any of this was possible, why did any of them need to go with her to go in the hazmat suits if she could invisible walk around this entire compound, kill everyone, you know, and then they could all leave. When
Well,
she,
they quickly, well, you know why? Because she would hurt her hand,
oh
right?
yes,
Because
this
if
is true.
she punches the one, my hand, oh my god. So
She's
she
not been
clearly
shown to
needs.
be useful in any other sense. She has not been shown to be scientifically brilliant. She has not been shown to give a
Nope.
rousing speech to motivate everybody. She is just there to look at Reed and it's just a way about it.
You're
Hard
so
stars and
dreamy.
horseshoes.
You're so dreamy in how you ignore me.
Yes, you regular looking middle-aged white man.
Right.
You are just doing it for me right now. This probably says more about absentee fathers than anything else. I think she's seeing what she was missing. You understand?
That's right.
I'm
That's
sorry to
right.
diagnose you here. I'm not a doctor. Doom is though. So
He is.
he totally is, bro. Um, they end up finding a huge piece of tech. I try to write notes about that part of like them seeing the code, and then he was like, "What? This looks familiar," and you know, whatever. But I was like, it confused me, so I didn't write it because they never go, "Oh, it's Latvian. Oh, this is the language that he was speaking." Oh,
Right.
later on, he just goes, "Doom's alive," but there's
Well,
no.
no. This genius
Oh
points it
yeah,
out.
yeah.
He goes, "Oh, this reminds me of your friend's
Didn't he
stuff." And
die
it's just,
doing this very specific thing? Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
that's right. I'm a genius, but damn, I'm stupid. Yes, yes, you are.
He's not. Yeah,
It took the hothead to point it out to you.
he's not very good at his job.
No,
So they end up finding a huge piece of tech and are approached by Doctor Doom once and for all. He claims that they are far from home and they are actually in a foreign land in which he rules. He threatens to leave them, so he calls them. They threaten to leave him, so he calls them rude and orders them to go back to their rooms. When they refuse, he lets them know that they are worth the same to him, alive or dead, and leaves before sending his guards in there to help them make that choice. I thought that was all well done. You know,
no.
I
For the I was happy with like because I think no, we got more of a Doom reveal when he's talking to his doctor henchman. So we kind of got Doom there, but
yeah.
in this you get a lot more of him. Even though I wish they would have lit him up a little less because in lighting him up in this scene a lot, you see some of the flaws in the costume, which
Yeah.
I because I do dig the costume so much. So I didn't like that you could see he's wearing like
Turtleneck or
like a
whatever.
skin like a
Yeah.
turtleneck or something under here. I'm like, no, it's supposed to be completely a complete
Metal.
armor. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So you shouldn't see that. And I wish they would have given his armor better sound effects because
Yes.
it sounds like
Tin.
plastic touching.
Tin.
Yeah, or
Like very
tin or like
thin.
or aluminum foil. It should
Right.
sound like, like
Like
solid,
it, yeah, like
like
it's got some, yeah,
like if he
like
hits
how
you
they
with
make
this
Iron Man's armor sound.
exactly like
When
a
he puts his
clank,
hands on
clank,
things.
clank,
Yeah,
you
and the
know.
weight, you can hear the weight.
Yes, exactly. And they didn't do it, so I was like, oh, just a little less light and a little better sound editing for a suit would have been fantastic. But yeah, overall, this was very cool, and I like the idea that Doom was like, I'm not gonna get my hands dirty
Yeah,
with you
he's
guys.
like, look, y'all figure it out. I'm coming to pull stuff out of your bodies. Y'all could be alive, y'all could be dead. I'll be back in like 20 minutes to see what y'all figured out. And even the whole thing about like, oh, y'all trying to leave after like I made this place look so nice for you guys, like it's a vacation home. He was basically saying to them or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's
I
like,
thought
oh
that was,
man, look what I've done for you.
right.
And
And again,
maybe
he says
maybe in
and
his
he says he's doing this, no?
yes. Hmm.
And so like I don't know. I feel like a lot of things were pointing at this direction, but yeah, like you said again, it's Johnny who's gonna end up figuring it all out.
Yeah, yeah,
This
no,
is
no,
just
yeah,
a
it's
guy named Doom. This isn't Victor Von Doom.
like what are the chances?
Yeah,
I know so many Dooms.
yeah.
It's like the other day I was talking to somebody and I was like, yeah, man, I was explaining like something about Hitler and they're like, which Hitler? I'm like,
There's only one Hitler, bro.
there's only one Hitler you got to worry about, man.
Yeah, there's
So
only
in this
one
one is
Hitler.
like Doom, not Von Doom, right? Oh, you're not Von Doom. Oh, so it's a different Doom. Okay, I got it. This is completely different. You kind of
Did,
sound like him though, muffled in that mask, but
just a
not
little
really.
bit. Just a little bit.
Not at all. Not at all. He obviously died. There's no way you're still alive in that suit of
Right.
armor.
And in Fan Stick, it was like Domachev or something like that. They changed his last name. He was
Yeah,
Victor
yeah.
Domachev.
Oh yeah.
And he was
And
just
his like
pessimistic.
wasn't his like gamer tag though like Doom or his hacker name
Worse,
like Doom?
worse, worse. It's something like if we don't get this equation right, the whole thing could blow up and we could all die. And then someone goes, "Oh, look at Doctor Doom over here."
So happy I've never finished that movie. So happy I've never finished that movie.
Doctor
So
Doom.
bad. It's so bad. So bad. Oh God.
So
So no,
um
yeah. So all the
yeah,
henchmen roll in, and here
with
you
the
get the
little
high.
tunics, little Doom tunics, which I dug, the little skirts and the little
I know. Again, you can see they're drawing from the source material here. I
yeah,
could totally believe that they were like, we want to do Doom bots, but they can't afford it. So
right,
what do? They put them in tunics and they
yeah,
kind of give them like masks,
yeah,
these little masks. Which I was like, okay, kind of like Doom bots. Okay, I
right.
can dig it. And here's a chance to showcase all the powers of the Fantastic Four, which for the most part is offensive. But I love the fact that the Sue just like goes invisible and lets two dudes. What did they shoot each other or did they
No,
run
they
into each
ran
other?
into each other, and
They run
also
into
they can't do that because her going invisible doesn't mean she's intangible. Those are
exactly.
two different things. I don't think they know the difference. And there's the exact same shot of Johnny shooting fire. Every time he shoots it, it's the exact same shot, but it'll show him doing it to a different place, but the end result of the fire hitting the wall is the same shot three times.
Yep.
I'm like, and again, these are menacing men by the hordes with guns, and like there's like a 5 minute sequence of Reed tripping them, just
Yeah.
tripping them, just with his leg out, tripping them. I'm like, what is going on here?
This worked in all those Bugs Bunny cartoons.
I,
It's gonna
I,
work now.
I literally put, luckily our heroes use their newfound powers in hilarious fashion and take down the armed men before escaping.
They should have played like the Benny Hill music that
Yeah.
oh no, they're gonna shoot us. Trip and Reed. Oh, but wait, one thing I did like was the thing says it's clobbering time.
Yeah, he does at
Totally
several
got
points.
which he totally got from CM Punk. So I
Oh,
really
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
oh,
Stan should really thank the Second City Saint, for
yeah,
really hammering
really
that
appreciate
down.
that. Thank you, Mr. Punk.
He says it, I
Appreciate it.
want to say three times in this, which is
He says it
more
three times,
more
and the
times than
third time,
most
the
series.
third time is the best time because we'll
If
get
the third
into it
time
when
is
we
what
get.
I think it is, then that's the moment I'm talking about. Is like the moment I'm like, what? But also, um, the next scene is the second place contender again as far as like writing. Like, what were you trying to accomplish in this scene? So I'm not calling it the Baxter Building. That building with the 444 on it. I'm not sure if that was the Baxter Building, but that's what it's going to be referred to in as on my notes. So at the Baxter Building, Reed is working hard on a cure when he's approached by Sue, who is basically throwing herself at him. I've never seen a woman just quite literally just heave. you know, her whole aura is leaning on this man, and he is not paying
And
attention at
he's just,
all, which is very
oh,
Reed
oh,
Sue.
hi, Sue.
Yeah, that's very Reed Sue. It's just made creepier when you realize that she's had this crush since she was a young girl.
Yes. Yes. I mean,
So
yeah.
this is a very weird chemistry thing going on here, where I'm supposed to be rooting for them, but I'm finding the whole thing very creepy,
And it's not just creepy. It's not even that
predatory.
not even unbelievable. At this point, who's the predator?
That's true.
Reed is not all over her. She's all over him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
And
yeah.
Reed is oblivious to it, but they never bother to like put in some flirty dialogue
No,
or something that makes you believe there's like chemistry here. They just have them look at each other, and it's just like,
she never
um,
says. She never says what parts of him are attractive to her, or like why she started to
why
get
she's into him. She's
him.
just,
Yeah, none of that stuff. Um, but like she's like, like I just I don't know how I am around you, and you just when you're around, I can't, butterflies in my stomach or whatever. And he's like, shut up. What do you say about being shy? She's like,
yeah,
oh yeah,
right.
sometimes I'm shy around. He goes, no, shut up. Specifically the shy thing.
The
Uh,
shyness.
and
I
then
have it.
yeah, he ignores her completely, and just focuses on this fact that she said that he makes her shy, and deduces that they were all given their powers based on their own personalities. Now, I don't know how much of that was intended in the original comic. That these is supposed to be some
I
sort of
honestly don't know if maybe at some point or another they tried to do that in any of the comics where it's like, oh, they tied their personality traits to their powers. I don't know. I don't know what they were trying to do here with that. It it doesn't really ever come back up, and it kind of does in one scene with the thing,
Mhm.
and they never explain it at all. Where
Right. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like,
Well,
so
it wasn't gonna last the full 3 hours, so he's supposed to take another pill after that.
exactly.
But
That's what I was thinking. I was like, what happened here?
wah, wah, wah. But
Exactly.
the thing is,
It
though,
just
in
never
this
comes up.
moment, the reason why I don't buy it, it totally could be. That totally could have been the intention, and you're this way and you're this way, and that's why it came out. This to me is a more asshole version of the "they call me Mr. Fantastic" speech from the first episode, for the first issue of this comic. You know how he's like, "You're a thing, and you're a
Yeah.
invisible woman, and I'm not Dr. Stretchy, I'm Mr. Fantastic. Like I have the best name that has nothing to do with my powers," kind of thing. In this,
Well,
it's
I think in the comic they named themselves.
no. Oh, did they? I thought it was him that
Yeah,
was going
yeah.
around
And
doing
but
that.
I have you ever heard the late great
There was a
comic
comedian skit about it. I can't
comi-
remember who it
yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah. Norm Macdonald,
Yeah,
skit.
yeah.
Oh, where he literally does it like in the comics, where the Human Torch is like, oh yeah, I turn on fire. I'm like a Human Torch, and the thing's like, I'm some kind of thing, so I'll be the thing. Oh, I turn invisible. I'm an invisible girl, and because I can stretch, I'm Mister Fantastic.
Yeah.
Like
But
no,
in this, he's like, it's taken our most negative parts of us and has given us powers corresponding. Johnny, you're a high-head asshole, so they made you fire. Stu, you're basically nothing. No one even sees you around. You're shy, so you're invisible. Thing, you are a dummy who uses his brute strength more than his brains. This is something he's never said in the whole movie that we're watching here. He's never
nope.
said this, but all of a sudden now he thinks he needs to take his rock friend down a notch. So he's like,
Mhm.
this is your fault because you are an idiot who only uses his strength. And you are a high-head asshole who doesn't think. And you are someone that no one, you're unremarkable. And you could be in a room and it's like you're basically not even there. And my biggest flaw, I stretch myself out too thin trying to help everybody all the
Everybody else is
time.
I'm
We
such a
all
nice
have
guy.
negative things about us.
Aren't I such a nice guy? Hothead,
My
brickhead,
biggest
and
flaw is
girl
I
I pay
have
no
no
attention to.
flaws. Yeah, my biggest flaw is I have no flaws. You know what I'm saying? I'm at the job interview. You're like, what's your, what's
My
the,
biggest flaw is I care too much.
yeah, that's basically what he's saying in this moment. I'm like, what is wrong with you, my guy? He's just dragging everybody through the mud, and it's like,
And the whole time Sue is just like, oh.
yeah. And I love that instantly Ben calls him out on the shit. He's like, yeah, well, that's great, but I'm still a rock monster. So
That's right.
like,
Fix
let's
me.
yeah, let's stop fucking, let's stop this little, celebration here because you still haven't fixed what the situation actually is. So he walks out. The movie decides that they want to now center this thing around Thing having like an existential crisis as he walks through the streets of New
Yo,
York City.
now here's a cool thing. If you remember in the documentary, they explain when I'm watching these scenes, I'm like, why he says nothing. It's so the way it's rigged up. He's just running up to people, going, ah,
Yeah.
oh, it's so
It's
dramatic,
melodramatic, yeah.
but he's saying nothing, and there's
Right.
a reason for this. Neither one of the actors who plays Ben Grimm or the Thing are the Thing in this
Wow,
scene.
none of them were in that suit.
They got some other guy from the production because they realized, oh shit, we have to film the scene still after production had ended. So they're like, dude, you mind getting in the costume and just letting me film you running around New York City harassing some people? And
That,
that's why there was no audio in it because they're like, it's
but
neither one of your voices.
I'm like, if you did that as a regular person, people would look at you weird. Like, yeah, I'm like,
Yeah,
it doesn't help that you're a rock monster, but I don't know what you're trying. And I get they were trying to do the whole this man, this monster thing, right? Like they were trying to
of
kind of sort of
course.
like nail
But
that.
like no one is running in fear. Everyone's just looking at him like, get the hell away from me, you moron.
Yeah, like it's got a bad skin condition, bro. I get it, but like, wait, why are you flipping out on everybody? Sue makes them super suits so they can withstand their individual powers, and they adapt the Fantastic Four moniker as a team. Unfortunately, the fourth member, Ben, gets invited underground by the Jeweler's men, using Ben's loneliness and self-hate against him. They're like, hey, we
Man,
know a place where idiots can hang
this
out
reminded me
justice-free.
of like a drug PSA, man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
hey, you're down in the dumps. I got a little meth for you.
And it's the same. It's always the same alley, right? It's the same alley with Doom's men. It's the same alley
Yep.
all the time. It's just these guys hang out in this alley. So yeah, they're
Have
like,
you,
come on,
mind you, have you ever seen a group of homeless people standing around
that
flaming
that much? No, a flaming barrel. No,
a flame barrel? That happens so often in movies, and I'm always like, I've never seen that.
no. I would
But
figure
yet
it'd
in
be
the
like a
movie,
health crisis or something, just having a
you,
gasoline flaming barrel in the middle of the
you know,
city.
or perpetual fires in cities. Like, man, the homeless people started another fire, man.
Yeah, and they're not just.
It's
It's never to cook or anything. It's quite literally to stand around.
it's a stand. You got to stay warm. It's cold. It's cold. You know, even in like
My
I
God,
it just
absolutely.
I've never seen it happen. So it's just the fact that it's always a thing in movies. Like there's a flaming barrel that no
Yeah,
one pays any mind to.
no, not at all. And like I said, Ben just goes with them. He's so down on his life. He's
Uh,
like, I'll just go with you guys.
you can
Um,
totally like, man. This is. I can totally see Chris Hansen showing up again. Like, hey,
yeah,
what are you
yeah,
doing
yeah.
with
So,
him? You're not supposed to take. Yes, no means no thing. No means no. No, know your self worth.
yeah, because then it randomly cuts to Alicia, who's like, "I will never love you. I will never be your queen." And they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we got a new recruit." And he's like, "Damn, I was trying to like do something with her. Okay, fine, I'll go check out the new recruit." He sees Ben, and he's all like, "I guess he's just thinks he could be
Ooh.
useful, right?"
Yeah, like,
Like,
oh, you fit in with us.
yeah. And he's like, "All right, this guy gets the best treatment." And after a conversation with Johnny about Colossus, Reed figures out Doom is alive. Doom arrives as promised. Okay, here we go. This is here's the scene that I was talking about. Not Doom arriving. He arrives because he's like, I'm gonna get that diamond. Screw that. So he just goes over there. They shoot at him at one point. I think he forcibly throws the bullets back at them at some point using his armor. I think that's what they were trying to
Oh
say.
my.
Uh,
I got that as they were deflecting off of his armor.
They were, but it wasn't like a instant like throw a ball and it bounces off the wall thing. They made it seem like he flexed them out. Like he was getting shot and then he like did like a motion with his chest to almost
Ah.
imply that he was then ricocheting them back out to kill people. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Him having a
Sure.
gat, him just having a gat, and walking around and shooting people, fine, absolutely fine.
Well, no, I can totally get that because if you look at classic versions of Doctor Doom's costume, he had a revolver holster. So I totally got behind that. I was
What
totally
the
fine with
cog is
that.
trying to say is he always had that thing on him. You know, the Doctor Doom, right? Always had that thing
Exactly.
on him.
That's
Stayed with
it,
that
man.
thing on him. And so this is the part that I'm like, I didn't understand what they were going for here. So Doom wants the diamond, right? Sees the diamond, goes to go get the diamond. The jeweler comes out and goes, "You better not touch that diamond, or I'm gonna kill this woman." That Doom doesn't know. That has no relation to Doom. That is the only reason why the diamond is in the place that it's in currently. It's because of this woman.
Right.
So he points his gun at this woman, and Doom's rightfully like,
I
"I
do
don't know,
Doom.
Kurt." Yeah,
I don't care. I dug that. I love that. I love
yeah,
that scene because
yeah.
I think he's thinking like this guy is like the hero or a hero in this sense.
Huh.
You
Okay,
know, it's-
that covers it a little bit. Then, then Doom, yeah, because Doom's like, "I don't care what you do with her." So then Ben comes out, and Ben's like, "No, you better let her go." So then Doom turns to the jeweler and goes, "Yeah, you better let her go." So the jeweler lets her go, and then Doom grabs her. So now she's Doom's hostage. In like 15 seconds. We've now changed the dynamic, not much. Now she's Doom's hostage. And as I'm in the middle of this confusion, Ben's like, "Well, fuck that. I'm gonna beat your ass." And then she goes, "No, Ben, I love you." Out of complete nowhere, this transforms him back into his human form.
it's
Out of
it reminded me of like Sega Genesis graphics where like the villain transforms, but it just fades, goes away.
She just says like, "I love you. Don't because
Save me.
don't save don't yeah, don't save me. I love you.
Don't
Don't
save me. I
but
love you.
stop doing what you're about to do. I need to tell you that I love you." All of this, I don't understand how any of this happened. Anyway, yeah, so then he's naked, so he runs away so he doesn't get shot. He becomes the best bullet dodger in the history of the world, as many people try to shoot him as he leaves, and he manages to get away.
It so felt like what you said earlier, where it was just like, oh, his
Yeah.
his performance enhancer is now run out, so he's got to get the hell out of there.
He need to get another can of Rock Hard.
You know,
You know
yeah, exactly. It reminded me of like when Bruce Banner turns back from the Hulk, like, oh shit, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
Gotta go.
But this is quite literally the worst time.
Right. Isn't it always? Isn't it always?
That's also true. But also, this says nothing about what Reed was talking about earlier. It's not like if he would have said you turn into the thing because you have too much self-hatred, then someone saying "I love you" maybe would soften that. But if it's because you're dumb, this didn't make you more smart. Why would you then turn into a human?
I guess it maybe like, oh, the love disarmed him and made him drop that facade
His
of
vulnerability.
his
Now he's out there.
vulnerabilities because he's so in love with this blind woman that he met for 12 seconds, like what, a month ago at this point?
When he harassed, the one he assaulted. Doom should have been
right.
like, well, that was fucking weird. Like all of that
Like,
was fucking weird. Like I came here, some rock guy tried to assault me. This blind woman said that she loved him, and then he turned back into a human and he ran away. That was the
like
whole
what the hell?
thing. And I got the
All
diamond.
right. I got the diamond, I guess.
And I have a hostage that was literally given to me. Some dude was like, "Yo, here's a hostage."
I guess I'm done with this woman now.
Absolutely ridiculous. The jeweler should have came back in the third act. That's what actually should have happened. The jeweler should have came back in the third act.
Yeah, right. Because after this, he's gone.
Yeah, he stole the diamond for the woman, gave them both
yeah.
up to Doom, and left.
I'm out. Moloids.
What is it? What is it? I've done. My job is done here. Like,
my job is. I'm a.
You didn't even do anything.
And And then Ben is outside.
Yes, he escapes, goes outside, yells. His anger,
Uh,
his anger brings his rock form back.
which they did this a lot in this movie, and
He does the spinning thing again.
the spinning thing, or like you literally duck out of the frame and then you pop back
Oh
in.
yeah, Tran-
They did that.
transformed.
They did that a couple times in this, and they even make fun of it in the Doomed documentary. In this, he screams, he yells, ah, and the screen like twirls, and then you see him duck, and then when he comes back up, you hear the shambling rocks, and he just like emerges. He's the thing again. Like what? What?
I mean, Animorphs would be do better than this. What is it? Allison Mack, whatever the one that used to turn into the Terminator.
Alex Mack.
Alex
Yeah,
Mack.
she used to turn into like liquid.
Gunmetal,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
gunmetal, whatever the
yeah.
gunmetal thing stuff. Like none of this here. None of this here. Doom sends a video threat. I couldn't think of again. Was this like a Skype call or did he just like he send this video? I can't remember.
And I love the fact that he even mentions the idea that what he's doing is this revolutionary technology. Because he
Yes.
says it in the video call, like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah.
using this technology, which is so ahead of its time." I'm like,
But I don't think they answer him. So I feel like it's just something like a video he sent. And they open the attachment and this happened.
a one way
Yeah,
video
he's
message.
like he says, I will destroy New York City in 12 hours with a massive space laser unless you surrender yourselves and your powers to me. And then he's like, let me show you what this does. And either nukes a place or shows them YouTube footage of a place being nuked.
YouTube, by the way,
And I
this
couldn't,
awesome
yeah, I
technology
couldn't.
you'll love in like 10 years.
What do you see? What do you think happened in this moment? He's like, remember, he's like, I will show you what this thing will do. And he hits it, shoots a laser, and then it just shows footage of like nuclear fallout of buildings being fucking blown up. But I don't think he ever really
He
did it.
took out some city, I think, that no
Uh,
one apparently gave a shit about.
Sokovia. That Uniforce's Sokovia
Exactly.
is gone. It's absolutely gone.
You
Uh,
see what's his name? Uh
Zemo?
Baron Zemo. You see Zemo.
Not
Oh,
again.
starts
Not
dancing.
again. Yeah. Not again.
Not again.
So they gear up, and I put this again tonally. They gear up, and cheerful music plays for some reason, and I'm like, none of this
Hey,
is a cheerful moment.
it's hero time, baby.
I guess Reed is down to stop Doom because that was his best friend, and he died. And Ben is in to stop Doom because Alicia is hostage and he's in love with her, I think. And Sue is down to stop Doom because, according to her, she loves Reed.
And Johnny's there because
Sue's there.
Because his sister said, "You better come," and he was like,
Yes.
"Okay, sis."
Yes. And she also told the same thing to Reed.
Our
But it was a
mom
whole other conversation.
our mom still doesn't know we're alive. But
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, he actually brings it up one time. He's like, "Did anyone want to tell mom, what's going on here?" But yeah, I just
He's
love,
fine.
I love that
She'll
they like,
see us on the news.
I love that they set that up where he's like, "That's my fucking man, that's my boy, bro," and I thought he was dead. I'm gonna have to handle this. And Ben's like, "Yeah, that's my girl, bro. I'm gonna have to figure that out." And she literally says the line, "I have a reason to fight too." And then they cut over to her and she goes, "I love you, Reed." And I'm like, "That's not a reason.
That's not a reason to fight. Not
It's
at
not a
all.
reason. Damn
Go
you."
stay here and work on your sewing skills because you can clearly see the stitches on my four patch here.
Yes, yes. By the way, you put no 4 on the Thing's outfit at all, and I just feel like that's a little, they need to figure that out. Give him a belt or suspenders or something.
Although on a whole, again, considering the budget, I love seeing these costumes overall.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they've never done them like this in the other movies. I
No.
felt they looked way too not good.
They're a bit dark they're a bit darker in the 2000 early 2000s ones. They're straight up black in Fan Four Stick. There's no 4. I think there's like weird electronic piping that's supposed to be like 4
Really?
or something. Yeah, they have like nodes and stuff on them. It's quite strange.
But no, I dig these. I enjoy them. I like seeing these classic Fantastic Four costumes, and I'm fine with their not because I don't. I think later on, I think the thing really only like early on just wore like basically underwear.
Hmm.
So this is pretty accurate. The idea of putting a 4 on him somewhere wasn't for years later. I think they started putting pants on
What's your
him, and then they
favorite?
would.
What's your favorite thing outfit? You like the wrestling singlet, Future Foundation stuff,
Mm,
white and black,
no, the blue and white will always be great, but I like when he wears pants, like having him just in
just the pants.
just the
Yeah,
pants. He doesn't need to have anything up top. I mean, he's
they
a
do
big
speedo in this.
huh?
They did speedo in this, right? They did little underwear
No,
in
no,
this.
no, no. I thought they did. I thought they did pants. I think they
I
took
know at
pants
one
on
point
him.
he has pants on. When he's at the jewelers, for some reason he inexplicably has blue pants on. But it's not these suits because she made these suits while he was gone.
Right, right.
So he was
I
just
think.
in this
Wait, now
outfit.
that I'm thinking about it, was he just naked? Was he just
I
naked in
I
this
feel
movie?
like he was rocking under. I feel like he was rocking the undies. He might have been rocking pants though.
Hmm.
I kind of got all this wrong, but
Hmm.
yeah. Sometimes I dig the little singlet. I don't know why. Maybe it looks like a bathing suit.
Well, you dig it because you're a wrestling fan. You're like, look at him.
That's true. Look like Biggie
He looks like
Langston.
he's about to job to Hulk Hogan. Look at him.
Yeah, yeah.
Hulk Hogan, and in this corner, Ben Grimm.
The
Boo,
Ben
sir.
Grimm. Actually, those damn Yancey Street kids booing Ben
That's
Grimm.
right.
Oh, and by the way, I've been on multiple accounts saying this exact same thing. That's the only thing I really want from this Fantastic Four film. I want the new one. I want the Yancey Street kids to fuck with Ben. It's one of my favorite little pieces of Fantastic Four lore.
It's a
No
great
matter what
piece.
they're dealing with, they're always fucking with Ben Grimm, and he's
No,
always
that's it, man.
shaking his fist at the sky. The damn Yancey
It's like
Street punks.
I can deal with Galactus, I can deal with Blaster, I can deal with the Nihilus, the Silver
Yeah.
Surfer, but a bunch of punk kids around the corner. God damn it.
And that actor Ebon Moss Backrack, I think is how you spell his name. The guy from The Bear, the cousin
Yes. Uh-huh.
that's gonna play Ben Grimm. I
Mhm.
could solely see him getting like upset,
Oh yeah,
Bill
yeah.
Burr style
If
about
yeah,
like the
I mean,
kids, the punk kids that are in the neighborhood.
of course, because he doesn't. That's how he sounds in the Bear. He's always
Yeah,
complaining about something. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
yeah, I think he'd pull it off beautifully. I could
yeah,
see them like kind of like planting the seed for that when he's still human, and then throwing that in later on, like he's leaving the Ford Freedoms Plaza, and like he gets hit with like some eggs or something, and
yeah.
it's a bunch of the kids.
They
No,
recorded a
that is
viral
that
video of him and they edited it
exactly. Oh,
out,
they put it on TikTok. You know what I mean?
and he doesn't
Like,
know how to work a phone. Those
he
damn
can't work a
Yancey,
phone.
these damn Yancey Street kids. And I was like, it's so easy, bro. It's such a layup. But yeah, hopefully they're able to nail some of that stuff. Let's get out of this universe. So they get back to the castle, but are stopped in their tracks by Doomtech. Literally, they walk through the door, he hits a button, and they can't move anymore.
Nope, just stuck in force fields. And he
They
even says
just
it.
got there.
That was a pretty funny line where they're like, "Hey, I don't like the idea of walking into a trap." And Reed's just like, "Well, I've never walked into a trap before." And he's
Yeah,
like, "Well, you're about to."
this is yes. Here we go. I'm glad Victor could pop your cherry. So, yes, they do walk, quite frankly, into a trap. Do monologues. At this point, I'm a bit over it. This is where I'm like,
Well, here's where I'm just like, man, I guess and it's funny because I'm sitting here going, yo, is Victor Von Doom from the same family as the Captain America Red Skull? Because
yeah,
is he Italian with all the hand? Because he's so, I guess, you know,
animated.
as an actor, for me, I was looking at it like, at first like, okay, an actor who can't emote with their face, so he's got to emote with his hands, and it was just so very, Brooklyn Italian. Yo, Reed, I'm gonna
Yeah,
talk all this super smack and constantly do stuff with my hands. But
yeah,
then in watching the documentary about this, he was told, hey, look at Benito Mussolini,
yeah,
the fascist leader of Italy during World War II.
yeah,
That dude was super animated in his speeches, and they told him, yo, copy this guy.
yeah.
But
He did seem like a monarch. Some of the hand gestures were a bit weird, but
too over the top, when he's constantly just like over here
yeah,
with it and just
yeah.
clanking the fingers. Just like,
At one
all right,
point, he's
bro,
just
you're
like
doing a little bit too much.
when he has Alicia, he's just like rubbing all his metal fingers on her face for like a 3 minute scene, like the not cutting away from him. Like, where is this gonna go? I was like, he's gonna
Yeah,
stick his finger in her mouth. What's going on
exactly.
here?
He did a lot of that to the doctor too. Remember, he had his
Yeah,
hands around his neck.
yeah, yeah. And he's
I'm
asking him
waiting
a
out the
question.
whole.
They're having a
Yeah,
conversation, and he's like slowly choking him. I'm like, is he choking him? I can't tell
I'm
because
like,
they're having a
is he gonna
conversation.
kill this guy? Is what's going on? The whole time, I'm just like, okay, how
Oh,
you doing?
Doom.
And, hey
All of his
Doom,
restraint.
remember the HR meeting we had, Doom?
Yeah. Oh, this is what I'm saying. He does his monologue, and then that's when he's like, Victor. And I'm like, yes. I think everybody got that way back when. By the way, he called you all of you guys by your names, like all of you. He knew Ben right off the rip. Said Ben Grimm. You know, none of y'all caught on who the hell this guy was.
Well, he obviously read all their Wikipedia profiles. I mean,
That's
come
what it
on,
is. He's in the future. YouTube, Skype. He's doing it all.
he's got it all. He's got it all.
So
This
he,
guy, he's a futurist. Remember he has a time platform.
this
He's
is
time
true.
traveled. He's seen all this, and he's also gone to the future where we're the latest and greatest thing to come to comic books. But
Gang,
we can't talk
gang.
about that.
Nope, or else Dwayne Johnson ends up underneath that mask. Nobody wants that to happen.
Nobody
So,
wants that.
he blames Reed for what happened to him, says that he is Victor, but they can call him Dr. Doom. He says he will strip them of their powers and then make Ben watch his men kill Alicia, which is kind of mean. I was like, all right. Uh, I I just realized there's little to no reason to have Alicia as a hostage at all. They're either going to come or they're not, right? They're either going to come or they're not. If they're not, then New York City gets blown up. If they come, then you're good. You got your little diamond and you'll get your powers. Very strange, but she's around. He starts the power transfer, but Reed uses his powers to kick the machine over. They fight Doom's men using terrible special effects, so Doom, as a sore loser, turns the laser on anyway. Ben finds, frees, and flirts with Alicia. There's a moment where she is touching him and he is just moaning. Is the best word I could use.
Yeah, it
to
was
describe
so
the scene.
it was erotic. It was straight. I was like, the whole time I was like, oh my god, I closed my eyes, man. What am I watching here?
50 Shades
But
of Thing.
for real,
50 Shades of Grim. There we
he's just
go.
like, oh,
He's moaning.
like,
I'm like,
I'm like, what is
going
yeah?
on?
I'm like, what is going on, man?
I'm like, good. I'm
Like,
glad I'm watching this alone. This is
like
not.
just imagine taking your kids to see this, and having to explain that. Well, the blind lady is
Yeah.
obviously stroking the rock penis.
Yes. She's like, let me help.
Like,
Let me help you for my escape, real quick. Give you a little handy in a Doom castle.
we saw what happened the last time that he wasn't sexually fulfilled. He turned back to a
Yes.
human. She was like, "No,
Yes.
you got to stay like this.
I can't
You
let
gotta-
this happen again.
I can't let this happen again."
So
But no, let's go back. One, the laser that's draining them. I was so pissed. Because Ben is not like, feeling anything. Reed is like grimacing. Johnny's kind of looking like he's in pain, and Sue is just screaming her head off.
ass off. Yep. She's screaming her ass off. I was thinking that too. I was like, I wonder what different directions they were all given. Because Ben is not uttering a word. Johnny is trying to seem like he's in pain. Reed is like slightly vibrating, like shaking a little bit, acting like if something's happening. But girl is screaming. I'm like, were they all told to do different things? That's why I think it's funny. He's like, I'm gonna take all your powers. Oh, and you, I'm gonna kill your girlfriend. I'm like, what was that about? What is it? What did Ben do?
I had to drag this blind bitch all the way here.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna
What
kill
did Ben
this woman.
do? If anything, Ben is the reason why he's still alive. Because he pushed him out of the electrical, whatever the fuck that happened when all this started.
That's right. That's right. Should be thanking him. Because
Everyone
you
just-
saved my life. I'll let you blind girlfriend hang out with you for a little bit. I don't know.
Yes. Get that midget from the jeweler back in here.
That's right.
Absolutely
and then how funny it looked when Reed was slowly slipping his foot through the force field somehow, and it came out and
curves
hit
up.
the laser.
It curves up.
I was like, what is going
Like
on?
trying
here,
to cut
bro?
around. So it's like initially when he's doing it, there is no superpower. It's literally just him taking his foot. Because you're led to believe this is stopping them in their tracks. So there shouldn't be a thing of like, I'll just stretch and get past it, right? I don't know. But yeah, he does kick this thing over. I had to look because I'm like, is that really what he did? Yeah, he literally just kicked the laser over.
That's all he did.
Reed confronts Doctor Doom, who then shows him his Doom claws.
Yes.
What is that about?
You kids are gonna love this in a couple years.
I have a gun. I have a gun on me. I keep that thing on me. Why do I?
Right?
Why do I need claws? This doesn't make any sense. And all my guys got things on them. This is very strange.
He obviously dropped it. Come on.
Oh my god. This is why I say he dropped the gat. He took off the he filed down the serial numbers and threw it over the edge. But I will say
that's right.
That's what's funny is that he looks like a sore loser. Like he quite literally like, I'm gonna take all your powers, and when that doesn't work, he just runs, hits the laser, right? Like screw this, hits the laser on, and then runs away. After all this pomp and circumstance. So Reed confronts him, and then I was doing something. And then when I look, he's off of a cliff. So I go and I rewind it, and Reed just like long punches him, long kicks him, and then long punches him again. And he falls off. He's on the edge of a balcony.
It's the classic Dalsim costume.
Combo.
Street Fighter 2.
Yoga flame.
Yoga flame. You know, yoga.
What do you think was the first movie to do this trope? Got the villain over the edge. It's up to me whether or not to pull him up, and they might want to just die. I feel like it's happened in a lot of things.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think how far back to go.
What do you when you think of that scene? What comes to your mind?
Didn't something like this happen in the Maltese Falcon?
I gotta double check. Mine goes to Lion King, but that's not real because it's not.
No, but it's essentially the hanging. It's still that Lion King was 92.
But who's the first one to be like, nah, screw this. I don't need your help. I don't want your help. It's like in my mind, but I can't. It's not something that comes up right now. I'm just blanking. This is what happens when you got Corman.
But it's definitely one of those corny tropes, right? And then
but I want to know how early in here it was, and I also want to know if he's the first one to be like, nah, screw it. I don't need your help, kind of thing. That's usually what the case. Yeah. Oh, Gaston does it. Gaston falls off the cliff, and then the beast has him. He has the knife. He's gonna shank his ass when he got up.
I'm gonna take you out, even though I'm hanging off of a freaking 80-story mountain top.
What a hater! And I think that's one of those instances. But I gotta double check. I'm pretty sure Dan M's the person I'm gonna ask. He's seen a million movies. He'll know. He lists me every movie in which somebody's ever left off a cliff. But I'm watching this, and again. Reed uses his long ass hand because he doesn't want his best friend to die or whatever. So he's grabbing him over this balcony. But again, they decide to give him like 5 minutes of dialogue. He's like dangling from this hand. He's like, you see, Reed, this is why you'll never be able to make the choice of a real man. You over here trying to save me, but you know that everything I'm doing is because of what you've done to me. And now I'm in this position in which I am here to take out you and get all of your powers. And yet you find yourself here holding on to me. Isn't that quite humorous, Mr. Richard? And I'm like, what is going? Drop him or pick his ass up. And then Doom's basically like, nah, screw it. And he frees his hand from his gauntlet and he falls seemingly to his death.
But I thought it was hilarious because did it look like to you as he's falling?
He was flipping him off. He was flipping him off. I gotta go back. I have to go back to like freeze frame this thing. But that's literally the thought that goes in my mind. I said, did he just flip him off? Is he going, yeah,
double bird? That's right. Suck it. DX, baby.
Oh my god, absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. Did we glance over the last clobbering time?
We might have. Yeah.
But as they're fighting, Ben says it's clobbering time for real this time.
Oh, yes, he does. Yes, he does.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wait. So the other two times where you weren't really into it, but
What do you
this
think?
time,
What do you think about the random paper mache walls he busts through on occasion?
oh,
It just randomly, it just randomly
throughout
having to
the
knock
movie,
down some
the
cardboard.
first time when they break out of the cell,
Mhm.
when he's the only one still locked up while the other three are, carefully making their way through the facility. Yeah, he breaks through that door that falls apart like looks like pieces of plastic. Then he breaks. Poor Johnny, right? In that one scene, he's like melting the wall, and then Thing is like, I can just break through this wall.
Yeah,
I'll just
like
break through.
you're taking
And
too
then
long.
and then in the last fight scene, yeah, he's just breaking through everything. And oh, by the way, it's clobbering time for
For
real this
real
time.
this time.
The first two times, I was just kind of joking around. I wasn't
Well,
serious about it.
especially
But now,
that second time he got nothing done. Yeah, ran away.
oh, that's
he
right. It's
he owed
clobbering
us some,
time.
he owes us some clobbering.
But, but you know what it is. You know what it is. This time he got rizzed up. That's what it is.
100%. And so he's in rare form. And speaking of rare form, the film ends with Doctor Doom seemingly falling to his death. And then my footage randomly then started to play what was obviously a PS1 cutscene of a flaming man flying up towards a laser beam and fighting this laser beam. At one point, the laser beam hits him. I don't know what game this is from, but at one point, the laser beam hits him, and he just starts to do like cartwheels in the air, backflips over and over, and go.
Did you see the life bar going down on the
Yes,
top? It was pretty
yes.
cool.
And then he just tries harder,
That's
and is
it. That's
able
all I do.
to, stop the laser. And then at one point, like punches the laser, and it causes an explosion in space. Possibly not going to harm anyone. No one's looked into it. That cuts immediately to a wedding, and then in their costumes,
Except for Sue. Except for Sue.
well, yeah, she gets to be in the gown, but in his costume, he didn't feel like he needed to get dressed.
So
They kiss. It's all lovely, and then he waves his big hand out of the
that big,
car.
obviously, pool noodle arm
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
It was, oh my
It
God.
has none of the dexterity of a real arm. It doesn't bend at the right place that it's supposed to, or anything
Nope.
like that. Um, yeah, that's the ending. I never seen a movie end so quickly. Like from when it decided it was going to be the third act to the end. Like that whole laser thing. I mean, I'm glad they got to get Johnny in the form, I guess. But man, that was rough.
It was. And then what I love is the idea that, okay, this laser we've seen blow up an entire city.
Yep.
But Johnny can stand in front of it. And, ooh, 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 ooh.
Not only that, but lasers work on light. And I don't know if anyone knows this, but light is very fast. As a matter of fact, they use it to
Is
like
it? Is
count.
it?
Yeah, they use it to do stuff like space travel, like speed of light. And so like he hits the laser and Johnny's like, I'm gonna take care of this. And like it takes him like 10 minutes to like fully flame on, get all the way to where the other end is. The other end, he beat the other end of the laser to where it
He's
was
fast,
going
man.
and then
Did you not
punched it.
hear? He said flame on, but then he also, if you quickly hear it, I had to turn mine up. He says, I got the need for speed.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And he and
If they would have got,
and it's
if they
just
would have had enough money to put Danger Zone in here, this probably would have made the scene. Yeah, it would have been way
definitely.
better. I was highly entertained by this film. I just was. It has
I
its
was too.
bad
Hmm.
moments. But it's so bad. I almost want to say it's so bad it's good in the sense that like I've yet to find any redeeming qualities in Madam Web. People tell me that it's an all
I
right
still
film.
haven't watched it. I still haven't watched it.
I cannot watch it and be like, oh, that Morbius. See Morbius?
Oh yeah, I saw Morbius.
That's another one that if someone was like, oh, what did you laugh? I can't remember. I can't. There's
I laughed
nothing.
when I laughed when what's his name was doing his dance.
Yeah. I laughed when I think he like passed out because he didn't have any blood. He was in the cage and he like passed out. That was pretty funny. But yeah, like I don't, like there's moments in this film I will think back to as good and think back to as funny. Again, the blind woman being passed hot potato style from one one evil villain to the other evil villain. And
I
like
love I love like this movie went out of its way to show like, yo, Doctor Doom is a villain. This is not a good person, and I dug that.
yeah,
I dug that. Like he when the I'll kill this woman, kill her. I don't
yeah,
care about her. How many times did he just set things up where it's like, oh, I'm not gonna even get my hands dirty. I'm gonna let all my goons come in here and kill you guys.
yeah.
I even though he got to be a little over dramatic sometimes, you could totally see if all at this point, because they went back to the original material. If you read all that original Stan Lee stuff, Doctor Doom
Oh,
monologued like a
oh yeah.
mother.
That's one thing
So
I was
you
thinking. Like, there's a portion in this where I'm like, these monologues are getting kind of cheesy, and then I'm like, I remember reading some of those comics, man. It was all exposition all the time. If they didn't think it or say it, it didn't happen.
right,
So they
exactly.
had to be like, ah, it is kind of weird waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning in New York City in my mom's house. Like that's what thought that they would have. That would be actual
Hmm.
dialogue. You're like,
Yep.
well, who would talk like that? But yeah,
The
they had to
idea
set the whole thing up.
the
Yeah.
the idea of show don't tell was not a thing in 1960s comics.
No, no,
It
it was
was
not.
tell everything, and just have everybody in
Yeah.
arbitrary poses, and
Yes.
then
Yes.
giant word balloons.
Yes. But yeah, this takes some of the best parts of that. It kind of shows that it can be a little bit hokey, which is I do think the biggest issue they have with this property is tone. If you look across everything that they've made, they can't nail the tone. And
No,
one of the things that is constantly said about nailing sort of the tone they should be going for. 10 years after this film comes out, The Incredibles comes out. And
and
that's the film that a lot of people point to as like that's the sort of dynamic that this
that's the
that
best.
this
That's the best Fantastic Four movie.
right. Do you agree with that sentiment? Do you agree with the sentiment I said about the just not being able to kind of land the tone when it comes
Oh
to
yeah,
doing stuff?
totally, totally. Because yeah, the very first Fantastic Four, well, not the very first. This was the very first, but the first Tim Story Fantastic Four movie. Yeah, it had like these elements of comedy. Same thing kind of here, where they would go to comedy, but then try to be serious. And Doctor Doom was just terrible in that movie. The second movie, the whole thing centers around a world-ending event, but we're constantly being subjected to just lots of terrible jokes and not knowing what to do with all the characters in the movie. And hey, I'm telling you right now, I've seen 20 minutes of Fan Four Stick. So
We've got to get you to. I want your thoughts on that. I want to see where the bottom of this barrel actually looks like, because I think people would throw things like this under the bus. This is a lot more acceptable. Fanforstic on its face should be inexcusable.
it's I've never heard anyone say they like that movie, or even tell me, well, I like this or I like this. Everybody who's ever told me about that movie is just like, you haven't seen it? Cool.
You know when a movie's real bad when it has no devil's advocacy, right? No one's like, hey, well, just to play devil's advocate, I really like. No, no one's like, no one wants to put their name on that.
Because you
Um,
said Morbius, before. I tell people all the time, watch Morbius. It's not the worst thing to watch. But I could never tell anybody we'll watch Fan Four Stick. Mm-mm, no way. And
you,
even this, I after watching this and the documentary, I will happily recommend watching both to
yeah.
everybody,
What do you think should be seen
because
first?
I would say the movie. Watch the movie first.
Yeah.
Watch the movie first, and just try to enjoy it, especially as just a comic book fan. Because to me, you take this movie and what they filmed,
Hmm.
and then put it in the hands of what people can do nowadays, even from our homes right now.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, somebody can take all that material, stitch together, give it great special effects, and you will get a decent movie out of this.
There was a bit of time where I was so frustrated with the doom of this all that I was like, I can ADR this man.
Right.
I can just write his lines, put some moody music in the background, and say his lines, and it would sound clearer and it would look better than what's going on here. That might be an experiment I do later this week, so be on the lookout for that.
Sure, I'm down.
um,
Let me know.
because I don't think it's the dialogue. I don't think it's the dialogue that's is hurting him. It's the fact that he was not able to re-record his lines.
Yeah.
Obviously, the most scandalous part about this film is that supposedly it was never meant to come out, or what I believe is more so the case. I believe it was closer to coming out than most would admit. But then when Christopher Columbus and Fox were interested in making a Fantastic
Hmm.
Four film, then they killed it in the crib. I do believe that they would have made this. It wouldn't have been for heart. It would have been for rights, and it would have come
Right.
out as is. But I think even the little bit of extra touch they would have put at the end to make this a theatrical release immediately got canceled once Fox showed any kind of interest.
Yeah,
Um, so I just
definitely.
wonder, like a week or two later, if that would have been announced a week or two later, but it still would have been strangled in the crib because they don't like to have competing IP, confuse the market with competing IPs to Fantastic
Yeah,
Four films
especially
from two different
especially
studios.
well, only Marvel feels that way. DC is totally fine with it.
Right, right.
Wait, we got this
Eight
Batman over
Batman,
here. We have
eight
we
Batman
have this
movies.
Joker over here. We have this Joker over here. We have Zack Snyder doing something over
There's
here.
Gaga Harley. There she,
That
there
yeah,
she is. There
but
she
no,
is.
but yeah, it's really really sad because you could see a lot. All the people were behind this. They were excited to make this,
Yeah,
and they wanted to see it come out. And the fact that most of these people, yeah, the fact that most of these people involved saw it 10, 20 years later by buying it on bootleg at a convention
yeah.
is insane to me. When the actress that Kat Green who plays
Alicia
Alicia Masters,
Masters.
the fact that like somebody came up to her and goes, "Oh, I know you from this movie," and she's
She's like, I
like,
haven't even seen it. What are
I
you
haven't even
talking
seen
about?
it," and she had to buy it from eBay, which is crazy. It's a crazy thing to have to go through, because when you're an artist, most of these people, I know some actors say, "Oh, I never watch my own projects or whatever," but most actors and actresses do. They go to their premieres. They of course they probably own it in some way, and they watch it. They show their family. They want to show the people their art. Painters, sculptors, they all want people to see their art. And here, there's this piece of art that's gone. It's because the original is gone. You have copies of copies of copies. It's really sad. And to think what someone could do with this movie, even now, like just to go back and tinker with things and fix things, this could be a hell of a good movie. And this could have been, who knows what this could have led to.
The biggest thing for me is this. It's something I didn't even consider. Right, is like the resume of it all. Like you lose 6 months of your life to put it towards this effort, and now you can't even list this as something you've done because there's no proof of it.
Right.
That I didn't. I never considered that. You think of things like Leslie Grace, right? Leslie Grace, who nails the Batwoman role, gets the Batwoman role, does the entire film, gets the suit, all of that, got nothing to show for it. She can't put that on her resume. It's not the same thing with the directors. It's not something that they can prove. It's not something that is going to get them more work. And they lost time because of it.
Hmm.
Lost time in their careers because of it. Um, that's the harrowing part about this. We often talk about these big moves that these studios and conglomerates make, and it's the little people that get screwed over all the time. You know,
Yeah.
um, I did like the grassroots effort of like trying to get it leaked out and trying to find copies and all that kind of stuff. It was quite
Now,
interesting. But again, I
grassroots,
would
even
be,
before that, the self promotion that these actors went through to promote this movie when it was supposed to come out, and it was supposed to be this big public viewing at the Mall of
yeah,
America, which,
yeah.
if you don't know, the Mall of America is the biggest mall in the country.
Hmm.
It's massive. So
They did so
had it,
many revolution, like the 90s is all about people doing humongous things at Mall of America, including the very first episode of Monday Night Nitro.
I did not know that. Thank you.
Yeah, Mall of America.
But yeah,
Lex Luger.
that mall is huge. It's
Hmm.
massive. Like I think it has a Ferris wheel inside of it. It's so big.
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So like had that movie aired for the first time in that mall, it would have been a big deal. It would have been a big deal. The movie, I don't think would have gotten the greatest reception,
Hmm.
but it's kind of funny to think how I think they talked about it in the documentary. this movie has kind of been seen by more people now due to this whole quite the conspiracy behind it than probably would have been initially been seen, because maybe had it did come out, it would have just became that, oh yeah, it was seen, it was in theaters for like maybe a month, it made $3 million, and now we all know it as the first Fantastic Four movie, and it bombed, and who cares? But now it's gained this.
What's also super interesting is that no matter what people could try to say about it, the performances shine through. You understand? Like it's the word around it before any of us saw it was so bad it couldn't be released. Right? Like this, it was so
Mm-hmm.
cheap. It was so not. It was a nothing movie. So they didn't make it. Had the film never come out, we would have never seen how much meat was actually on those bones that they said were easily to be discarded. I think it's
Yep.
interesting when put in front of the public and asked if they would accept this. How many people are like, this is again, especially of the era. You cannot tell me Captain America is better than this of this era.
Nope.
You can't even tell me that. You know, Punisher has its moments, but I feel like that's more just an action film. You could have called that thing anything. Knife
Anything.
Man. You
Right.
know, but the idea that they had to stick to the accurate outfits, they had to stick. Like I said, even Batman in '89 is not as much of a leap as this because again, Batman's a detective, right? His
Right.
outfit's a little bit wacky, but past nailing the bat suit, you're not shooting flames out of people's hands. You're not transforming into rock. You're not
No.
stretching your arms out. You're not using satanic magic and technology out of your suit that you made yourself because of your devil worshipping mom or whatever. You know, then there's so much they try to tackle in this, and to get as close as they did is a marvel, and no pun intended, a marvel in my
Boom,
eyes.
boom.
Um, but yeah, I like I said, I dug it. I'd go out and check it out if you guys can. I think we've actually spoken about the film longer than the film, the longer than the film's runtime. But we love to do this each and every week as part of the Major Issues podcast. We're working on trying to create a more interactive experience with the Major Issues podcast as we move closer and closer to episode 350. We want to start trying to integrate live recordings so that you guys can like, share, and comment as the actual show goes on. Obviously, we'll still be trying to put out these episodes every Thursday, but maybe we'll nail the time during the week where we can sit down and do these recordings. We did a test today. It went 95% well. I feel like if we could just nail that one problem, we're gangbusters at that point, you know? It's going to be very interesting to see what the future of Major Issues and Comic Book Click is. But the only way to find out what it is to make sure that you guys are keeping your ear on the ground and listening to all things Comic Book Click. So, you know, the Major Issues podcast, thank you guys for listening to this episode. But like I said, over 300 episodes exist at comicbookclick.com. It's the one stop for everything Comic Book Click, our merchandise, our partnership with DirtSheet Radio, every single article that we've written, and again, every episode of the Major Issues podcast. So if you want to support us, I'd go there first. Listen to some episodes of the podcast, comment on some articles, go to our TeePublic store. When you hit that shop CBC button, it'll take you to our TeePublic store where you can buy merchandise based about Comic Book Click, but made by me, and we get a kickback of everything that you guys purchase. You can hit up our Patreon, patreon.com/CBC Clubhouse, where for as little as 10 cents a day, $3 a month, you can help support us monetarily here. Every little bit counts. You can, if you can't do anything monetarily to help us out, you know, times are tough. I totally get it. It's absolutely free to leave a review of this podcast on any podcast listener of your choosing. Apple Podcast works the best because it has so many users already built in to iPhones. So if you have an iPhone, I really, really would appreciate if you guys could rate this podcast, because when people look for our kind of content, they're going to look for the highly rated ones. So if you dig what we're doing, tell those people, and the bandwagon is going to get full. So make sure that you're on there. I'm talking about making this thing more interactive. That means being more active on social media. Our numbers continue to climb through this partnership with Comic Book Click, through the hard work of the people who are doing social media for Comic Book Click, you included, COG. So hard work is paying off, but we are looking for more avenues because I feel like we're just at the tipping point here. We're figuring something out that we didn't figure out before when it comes to this engagement thing, and I feel like we're coming around that corner. This is going to be a before and there's going to be an after Comic Book Clique era, and not after, but after we figure this out era, you're going to want to be on the bandwagon before it makes that turn, because our audience is about to double in size thanks to the hardworking people behind the scenes here at Comic Book Clique. So make sure that you're with us as part of the journey by going to facebook.com/comicbookclique, Instagram at Comic Book Clique, and use that hashtag Comic Book Clique to talk about the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. I've been to the future where we do become the latest and greatest things to come to comic books and comic media. I can't tell you how we do it because it'll mess up the timeline. And next thing you know, The Rock is playing Sue Storm, and that's something that nobody wants, especially if we got to CGI a young Rock getting all hot and bothered over Pedro Pascal. Who wants to see that? So exactly, none of that's good. So get on the bandwagon before the bandwagon gets full. Join us next week for a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, and quite possibly Major Issues Live. Something that we're working on behind the scenes here. We still got major previews kicking off every single month, giving you guys our picks for our, the latest and greatest issues to come to comic books and comic book media. So check that out. And we do all of that free of charge. So again, if you can help us monetarily, if you can help us by spreading the word, or if you could just help us by participating in the engagement of what we do each and every week, it would help so much. We love what we do here, and you guys make it easy. So, let's keep this partnership going. But my name is George Serrano, aka The Don.
And I'm Alex Garcia, aka The Cog.
And this has been our review of the Lost and Found 1994 Fantastic Four film. And remember, whether you have stretchy limbs, whether you turn into a rock monster, whether you're a little bit of a hothead, or you're just young and had a questionable crush on somebody much older than you when you should have been supervised by your mother and possibly a father who wasn't around, and thus you put all of your desires into this strange man and then immediately ended up marrying him after you guys went and tried to kill a former friend of his, remember that we are the Clique, and always remember that you, yes, you, are worthy.